Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the world before time had fully awakened, a landscape where rivers whispered secrets to the wind and mountains kept watch over silent valleys. In this tender hour, you drift into the earliest stories ever told, where gentle gods and forgotten spirits shaped the skies, the stars, and the quiet pulse of the earth. You will wander softly through the beginnings of human wonder, tracing myths that hum like hidden currents beneath the surface of memory. Here, in this calm journey, the world's first gods are not distant or fearsome. They are reflections of the dawn, guardians of beginnings, and companions to the soul. Allow your breath to slow and your mind to soften as we trace their quiet footsteps. Each myth you encounter will settle like a gentle leaf on water, carrying both wonder and the comfort of knowing that every tale, every god, has rested somewhere in the stillness before. Step lightly now into the sacred stories, letting the murmurs of eternity guide you into sleep and reflection. Chapter 1: Enki's Waters of Creation. In the soft cradle of Mesopotamia, where the Tigris and Euphrates meet in winding conversation, the god Enki stirs the deep, sacred waters that give life to the world. These waters are not merely rivers, streams, or marshes. They are the pulse of creation itself, the silent currents from which all forms of life emerge. It is said that from these waters, humans are shaped, animals awaken, and the fertile lands begin to breathe. In every ripple, there is a quiet wisdom, a gentle lesson in patience, balance, and harmony. Enki's presence is not forceful or loud. It is subtle, like a hand brushing the surface of still water, creating waves that spread slowly outward. His temples were built from reeds and mud bricks, walls softened by the desert sun, corridors filled with the faint scent of water and incense. Priests whispered prayers to him that were carried not in ceremony alone, but in the quiet attentiveness to life, to the ebb and flow of existence itself. Even the way water moves through Mesopotamia, the way it bends, nourishes, and reflects is said to mirror the calm, watchful nature of Enki. In the myths, Enki is both creator and caretaker. He fashions humans not as an afterthought, but from the essence of water itself, drawing from the Apsutha, fresh water beneath the earth that holds hidden potential. His hands guide the clay, mixing it with divine intention, infusing it with intelligence and a quiet spark of life. The earliest humans, born of this interaction, are not hurried into existence. They unfold slowly, like seedlings in a gentle rain, nurtured by the rhythms of river and sky. There is no urgency here, only the deliberate unfolding of form and function. The Mesopotamian understanding of water is deeply intertwined with this sense of order. Water does not only sustain life physically, it carries morality, law, and the subtle structure of the world. Enki is considered a god of wisdom precisely because he understands the delicate networks that connect one being to another, one river to its delta, one village to its fertile fields. His actions revealed that life is never isolated. Every current affects another. Every choice sends waves into the wider flow. In this, there is a lesson for the mind, the quiet, persistent influence of thought, of care, and of gentle action. Temples dedicated to Enki were often built near marshes or canals, a choice that reflected an understanding of his nature. The architecture was humble, designed to harmonize with the landscape rather than dominate it. Inside, priests performed rites to honor water itself, rituals that involved pouring, reflecting, and listening to its movements. Here, the sound of water becomes a sacred text, an ongoing lesson in the interconnectedness of all things. The same water that carries the morning light to the reeds also nourishes the mind that contemplates it. In listening, one might imagine the soft laughter of creation, a hum that has persisted through millennia. It is easy, in reading the myths, to imagine the intimacy of Enki with all life. He does not merely control the waters, he dialogues with them. Each river, stream, and spring has its own character, its own gentle mood. He adapts, responds, and guides. Even the animals of Mesopotamia, from the smallest fish to the largest ox, are part of this living conversation. Enki's wisdom is quiet, practical, and nurturing. A reminder that the world's earliest stories often speak not of grand battles or dramatic upheaval, but of subtle order and careful attention. Enki also carries a role as a mediator between gods and humans, a bridge over turbulent currents. Where other deities might issue commands, he provides guidance, creating pathways for understanding. In some stories, he shares secret knowledge with humans, how to cultivate crops, how to harness the rivers, how to live in harmony with the patterns of nature. This teaching is never hurried. It is delivered in moments of observation, reflection, and gentle instruction, much like the slow movements of water shaping the riverbed. One can sense in these myths an invitation to observe patiently, to act with care, and to respect the quiet forces that sustain life, water. Under Enki's guidance is also a metaphor for thought and consciousness. Just as water can erode stone or carve a path through a plain, so too can knowledge shape understanding over time. The currents of the Tigris and Euphrates mirror the currents of the mind, moving through complexities, finding channels, and nourishing fertile ground. Enki's waters teach not through noise or spectacle, but through steady, persistent presence. They remind the listener that life is continuous, layered, and composed of small, meaningful interactions. Each ripple, each wave, carries both history and possibility. In many Mesopotamian texts, the story of creation is not a single event, but a continuous process. The waters never stop moving, never stop shaping, and never stop reflecting. Enki's wisdom is not static. It flows and adapts. Even chaos is absorbed gently, reshaped, and integrated into the ongoing work of life. There is a calm assurance here. Beginnings are never rushed, and the unfolding of the world is patient, intentional, and infinitely attentive. In contemplating these myths, the listener is drawn into a slow rhythm, a gentle awareness of how everything is connected and how even the smallest current can leave an enduring mark. As you consider Enki's waters, imagine them flowing quietly across the land, through reeds, villages, and temples, touching every living being. Feel the ease of the currents as they move without haste, carrying seeds, memories, and wisdom alike. Creation itself becomes a meditation, a world built through care, observation, and the careful orchestration of subtle forces. Humans emerge not by force, but through attentive guidance, each life a soft reflection of divine thought. The waters teach that balance is not imposed but discovered, and that the quiet diligence of care leaves the deepest impression. Perhaps the most enduring aspect of Enki's story is this invitation to reflection. In his waters, there is an openness that encourages thought and presence. You are drawn to consider your own currents, how your actions ripple through the world, how quiet attention nurtures growth, how patience transforms small beginnings into lasting structures. Enki reminds us that the sacred is often gentle, pervasive, and patient, and that creation itself is a process of mindful care rather than sudden power. In this, The Mesopotamian myths offer both insight and solace. They suggest that the world is made from attentive forces, that life is connected, and that every ripple of thought, word, or action contributes to the larger flow. Enki's waters move in timeless cycles, reminding the listener that beginnings are sacred, nurturing, and enduring. In the stillness between ripples, there is space for contemplation, a quiet awareness that the act of creation is ongoing, patient, and infinitely gentle. Let yourself drift along these currents, imagining the water's reflective surface, feeling the soft pulse of life flowing beneath. Each ripple carries not only the story of Enki, but also a subtle lesson in harmony and balance. In the gentle unfolding of this ancient myth, you encounter both knowledge and calm reflection of beginnings that continue quietly, eternally, beneath the gaze of the early gods. Here, in the presence of Enki, creation is slow, observant, and tender. Every drop of water, every breath of wind across the marshes, every movement of the river carries the quiet echo of life's careful orchestration. And as you listen, you can sense the infinite patience of the waters, the eternal rhythm of beginnings, and the soft wisdom that flows from them into the world and, perhaps, into your own thoughts, inviting a gentle reflection on the continuity of life itself. Chapter 2. The sun-blessed silence of Ra. In the warm embrace of ancient Egypt, the first light of day rises slowly across the Nile, spilling gold across fields and waters. Each morning, Ra, the sun god, begins his journey across the sky, carrying the world on his luminous path. This movement is steady, a quiet rhythm that has guided human life for centuries. Farmers, fishers, and priests alike measured their days by this gentle motion, the rise and fall of Ra's light marking cycles of work, rest, and reflection. His journey is not hurried, nor is it abrupt. It unfolds with patience, as if the world itself breathes with his golden presence. The Nile mirrors this rhythm. Reeds bend under a slow breeze, papyrus fronds ripple as though responding to the god's gaze. Villagers along the river are touched by light that shifts imperceptibly, from soft amber in the early hours to the full brilliance of noon. In the quiet of dawn, water reflects the sky, and in its reflection, one can almost see Ra's deliberate passage, moving with a measured grace. There is a stillness here that is not empty, but contemplative, a space where the rhythm of life and the rhythm of myth converge. Ra's myths extend beyond his daily journey. Each evening, as he sinks beneath the western horizon, he embarks upon a nocturnal voyage through shadowed realms. In the Egyptian underworld, the Duat, he faces challenges that must be met to restore order and balance. These are not tales of terror or chaos, but of quiet endurance and cosmic maintenance. The stars themselves accompany him, marking the slow and deliberate progress through darkness. This nightly passage ensures that the sun will rise again, that life and rhythm continue unbroken. The myth reminds us that cycles are essential, that light and shadow complement each other, and that patience is woven into the very fabric of existence. Temples dedicated to Ra often align with the east, capturing the first rays of sunlight in sacred chambers. Priests would greet him with chants and incense, but the rituals were understated, measured, and meditative. Stones warmed by the morning light, columns casting elongated shadows, and the soft echo of prayer created an environment where divine rhythm could be felt rather than demanded. The architecture itself mirrored the journey of the sun, guiding observers to align with the natural cycles of day and night. In this alignment, humanity learned to live alongside time rather than against it, to observe patience as a sacred principle. Ra's light was more than a physical illumination. It was symbolic of life, order, and stability. In Egyptian thought, he maintained math, the principle of balance and truth. With each sunrise, Ra renewed the world, gently reminding humanity of the delicate equilibrium upon which existence rests. Crops grew, animals moved, and humans worked with a quiet acknowledgement of this ongoing order. The sun did not impose itself forcefully. It nurtured with consistency. Even in the hottest hours, the sun's presence was a steady reassurance, an omnipresent observer maintaining the rhythm of life. The mythology surrounding Astraea is rich in detail, yet restrained in tone. He interacts with other gods in subtle ways, offering guidance, mediation, and insight rather than dramatic confrontation. His daily cycle, moving from birth at dawn to rest at dusk, reflects a model of care and continuity. He is both observer and participant, light and mediator. In contemplating Ra, one sees not only the physical world illuminated, but the order that governs human society, nature, and the unseen energies that connect them. The daily journey of the sun becomes a meditation on patience, continuity, and subtle influence. The riverbanks themselves seem to participate in this quiet rhythm. Fish glide beneath mirrored surfaces, birds rise and settle as if in sync with Ra's path. The soundscape of the Nile is gentle, water lapping at reeds, wind stirring papyrus, distant calls from villagers attending their early routines. In these observations, one can feel the soft continuity that ancient Egyptians recognized. Life itself moves in careful, interwoven cycles, reflecting the sun's journey and the unseen harmony that guides the world. Listening becomes a form of meditation, and the observer becomes attuned to the calm intelligence of daily unfolding. Ra's nightly voyage, though less visible, is equally essential. According to myth, he descends into the duet and confronts Apophis, the serpent of chaos, not through force but through cunning and persistence. The struggle is patient and deliberate, a process of maintaining balance rather than seeking conquest. The stars, the moon, and other divine companions illuminate his path, guiding the god as he restores order. In this quiet confrontation, there is a lesson. Even in darkness, continuity and care are more powerful than sudden action. The underworld voyage symbolizes resilience, patience, and the restoration of harmony, echoing into human understanding of time and effort. For those listening to this story, Ra's journey can be imagined as a slow meditation. Consider the warmth of sunlight on skin, the steady illumination of the morning across the river, and the rhythm of your own breath aligning with the cycles of day and night. The myths suggest that order and balance are maintained not through force, but through measured, persistent care. Ra's passage becomes a mirror to the inner self, inviting reflection on patience, consistency, and gentle guidance. In the small details, water reflecting gold, reeds bending without resistance, shadows lengthening and contracting, one finds a quiet lesson on living in harmony with life's natural flow. There is also a gentle duality in Ra's presence. His light sustains life, yet it fades each evening, giving way to the mystery of night. Darkness is not absence, but a necessary complement to illumination, a space where reflection and renewal occur. The daily cycle teaches that life requires both action and rest, visibility and shadow, effort and repose. As Ra moves across the sky and then through the unseen realms, he models a balance that humans can aspire to, living in the rhythm of the universe rather than resisting it. This meditation on cycles and renewal extends beyond Egypt itself. Scholars of mythology note that the structure of Ra's journey is echoed in countless cultural understandings of time, life, and divine order. The rising and setting of the sun has inspired human observation for millennia, guiding rituals, agriculture, and spiritual practice. In these reflections, Ra becomes more than a distant deity. He is a guide to understanding the subtle mechanics of existence, teaching that life is both structured and flexible, enduring and responsive. Ra's myths invite contemplation without urgency. Each sunrise, each measured passage across the sky provides an opportunity to pause and observe. As the day unfolds, the listener can imagine themselves on the riverbank, feeling the warmth on their skin, noting the delicate movements of flora and fauna, and sensing the enduring presence of divine order. These observations, subtle and continuous, encourage a calm awareness of interconnectedness between humans, nature, and the cosmic rhythm of life. Even as the day closes, Ra's influence persists. The light may fade, but the structures it illuminates, the river's path, the cultivated fields, the temple's alignment, remains steady. This continuity, established quietly over countless generations, reassures the mind and the spirit. Creation and order are maintained not through force or haste, but through deliberate, patient progression. It is a rhythm that humans can witness, internalize, and reflect upon. A steady pulse beneath the surface of daily life. In the end, Ra's journey is a meditation on the persistence of light and the quiet strength of patience. It reminds us that even the smallest acts of attention, care, or alignment contribute to a larger balance. The sun's passage, measured and deliberate, reflects the enduring rhythms of nature, society, and consciousness. By observing, listening, and reflecting, one finds in Ra not only the story of a god, but a gentle guide to understanding cycles, order, and the quiet patience that sustains life as the sunlight softens across the Nile, and shadows lengthen over reeds and papyrus. One can sense the calm discipline of Ra's presence. His light, both illuminating and nurturing, offers a space for reflection, inviting a deep, quiet contemplation of time, rhythm, and the patient unfolding of existence. The story of Ra does not end with the setting sun. It continues in the cycles of night and day, in the steady pulse of rivers and reeds, and in the quiet meditation of those who observe the world with care. Perhaps, in these soft rhythms, we can sense the eternal guidance of light, and the patient, measured pace at which life itself is renewed. Chapter 3: The Whisper of Nut and Geb. High above the lands of ancient Egypt, Nut stretches across the sky, a celestial mother whose vast form cradles the stars. Her presence is gentle yet encompassing, a quiet expanse that reminds those below of both order and grace. Beneath her, Geb, the earth, lies in patient repose, a foundation of solidity and nurture. Together, they form a partnership of sky and soil, light and dark, day and night, an enduring rhythm that has guided both the land and its people. Their myth is not one of struggle or conflict, but of subtle harmony, illustrating the interdependence that binds every aspect of creation. Nut's arching body marks the passage of time in a gentle, measured manner. The sun rises from her horizon each morning, travels across her expanse, and sets once more, returning to her embrace at dusk. This cycle is not abrupt. It moves slowly, naturally, like water flowing over the land. Stars are born in her presence, emerging quietly in the evening sky, guiding travelers and inspiring wonder. Each celestial body has its place, and each movement reflects a careful balance, a reminder that the universe itself has rhythm and order. The Egyptians observed this rhythm and wove it into their understanding of life, recognizing that the heavens and the earth were in constant, harmonious dialogue. Geb, as the earth, is the silent counterpart to Nut's celestial presence. He rests with patience, providing stability and nourishment. From his soil spring the seeds that grow into crops, the grasses that feed animals, and the stones that form the foundations of villages and temples. His steady support is rarely celebrated in dramatic myths, yet it is essential. Without the quiet presence of the earth, the sky could not hold its rhythms, and life could not flourish. Nut and Geb together form a cycle of giving and receiving, of support and inspiration, a subtle interplay that mirrors the daily experience of human life. The myths of Nut and Geb reveal an ancient understanding of balance. They suggest that life is sustained not through dominance or force, but through careful equilibrium. The rising and setting of the sun, the growth of plants from the soil, and the movement of stars across the night sky all reflect this delicate dance. Observing these patterns, the Egyptians learned patience, timing, and attentiveness. Every day became an exercise in noticing cycles, understanding interconnections, and respecting the quiet forces that sustain existence. Nut and Geb were not distant figures. Their presence was felt in the water that nourished crops, the soil underfoot, and the stars that appeared each evening. Temples dedicated to celestial and terrestrial deities often reflected this balance in their design. Columns and chambers aligned with the rising and setting sun, walls carved with depictions of Nut's expansive body, floors marked with patterns symbolizing the earth. Rituals incorporated offerings to both sky and soil, acknowledging that life depended on both nourishment and illumination, on both the unseen and the visible. In these spaces, the myth became a lived experience, a practice of harmony, attentiveness, and subtle reflection. The sacred and the everyday were intertwined, and the divine presence could be felt not only in grand gestures, but in the slow, deliberate rhythm of life itself. In contemplating Nut and Geb, one can sense a profound patience in creation. The sky above is vast and ever-changing, yet consistent in its cycles. The earth below supports life without complaint, absorbing rain, offering nutrients, and providing a foundation for human civilization. These myths teach that care and attention often work quietly, shaping life in ways that are neither immediate nor dramatic. Every seed planted in Geb's soil, every star born in Nut's sky, is part of an ongoing process that unfolds with calm inevitability. The Egyptians also imagined Nut as a protective mother. Her body spans the heavens, keeping the chaos of the void at bay and maintaining a safe, ordered space for life below. At night, she swallows the sun, allowing the world to rest in darkness. In this embrace, there is reassurance, a sense that even as the visible light disappears, order remains and the cycles will continue. The night sky, studded with stars, becomes a comforting canopy, a silent reminder of continuity and care. Observing this, the mind naturally slows, following the rhythm of day and night. Waking and sleeping, activity and rest. Geb, in turn, mirrors this protective quality through his steadfastness. He absorbs the weight of mountains, carries rivers across the land, and holds fertile valleys for human cultivation. His quiet strength allows life to emerge and endure. In the myth, the earth is never rebellious or imposing. It is responsive, supportive, and patient. Together, Nut and Geb represent a model of cooperative balance. Their union, though sometimes separated in narrative, remains an underlying principle of natural and social order. Life, the myths suggest, prospers when the sky and earth, the visible and the foundational, work in harmony. The imagery of Nut stretching across the heavens and Geb resting below can also be experienced as a meditation on presence. Imagine yourself lying in a quiet field, looking up at stars slowly appearing in the twilight. Feel the solid ground beneath, steady and reassuring. In this simple observation, one participates in the ancient understanding of balance. The sky above offers perspective. The earth below offers stability, and the mind, suspended between, can reflect on continuity and patience. The myths encourage a gentle awareness of cycles, of interdependence, and of the subtle connections that sustain life. Nut and Geb also teach about the interplay of motion and stillness. The sky moves, the earth rests. Light travels, soil absorbs. Life emerges, sustenance is provided. This dynamic, quiet interaction is reflected in daily life along the Nile. Farmers planting crops observed the sun and the stars, noting the patterns that would guide sowing and harvest. Builders and architects aligned their constructions with celestial patterns. Priests marked time with rituals that acknowledged both the heavens and the earth. In every action, the rhythm of Nut and Geb shaped understanding, guiding both the physical and spiritual aspects of life. Even the timing of birth and renewal in Egyptian culture reflects this influence. The myths teach that everything has its season, its proper moment to emerge and flourish. There is an implicit patience, a sense that life unfolds with its own timing, and that attempts to rush or force change disrupt natural harmony. Nut and Geb embody this principle, offering a model for human reflection, to observe, to respect, and to align oneself with the ongoing cycles of nature and cosmos. As the myths of Nut and Geb unfold, they invite the listener into a space of gentle reflection. Imagine resting in the hollow between heaven and earth, where creation breathes slowly, without urgency. Feel the balance of motion and stillness, light and shadow, giving and receiving. The sky above and the soil below are not just backdrops. They are participants in the quiet orchestration of life, demonstrating that patience, consistency, and harmony are the foundations of endurance. Perhaps the most subtle teaching of Nut and Geb is the value of connection. The stars in Nut's sky are mirrored by the life sprouting from Geb's soil. Each plant, each creature, each human life participates in the same interwoven network, guided by rhythm, nurtured by presence, and sustained by care. There is no separation between celestial order and earthly stability. Rather, each supports and reflects the other. In observing these patterns, the listener is invited to consider their own place within the larger rhythm of existence, to notice the gentle interplay of forces that shape life, and to rest in the assurance that balance is quietly maintained in these myths. The passage of time is both observable and meditative. The cycles of day and night, the movement of stars, the growth of crops, and the rising and setting of the sun all mirror the ongoing work of Nut and Geb. They offer an invitation to the mind, to slow, to observe, to reflect, and to recognize the interconnectedness of all things. Through this awareness, one can find calm in the constancy of nature, reassurance in the patience of the earth, and quiet inspiration from the vast, protective sky above in the stillness between Nut and Geb. One discovers a rhythm that mirrors the heartbeat of life itself. Every breath, every step, every moment is connected to this ongoing dance of sky and soil, light and shadow, motion and stillness. Listening to the story of these ancient deities, one senses that the quiet balance they embody continues to flow through the world, shaping life in ways both visible and unseen. In this reflection, the mind finds a soft echo of eternity, a gentle reminder that harmony, patience, and interconnectedness are not abstract concepts, but lived principles woven into the fabric of existence. Perhaps, as you consider Nut and Geb, you might ask yourself, how do the cycles of sky and earth mirror the rhythms within your own life? And in that question, there is a quiet space, a gentle invitation to observe, rest, and align with the enduring pulse of creation. Chapter 4. The Soft Lament of Inanna. In the ancient cities of Sumer, where the Euphrates and Tigris weave slow paths through fertile plains, Inanna is known as a goddess who carries both brilliance and shadow. She embodies love, desire, courage, and the quiet, enduring power of transformation. Unlike deities of force or unyielding judgment, Inanna moves with tender intensity, her presence felt in both gentle caresses and in the still moments of reflection. She is simultaneously intimate and distant, familiar in her embrace of human longing, yet mysterious in her journeys to realms unseen. One of the most enduring stories of Inanna is her descent into the underworld, a passage not of violence, but of careful, reflective confrontation. The underworld, a place of shadowed silence, is a realm of transformation. Inanna does not rush. She moves deliberately, aware of each threshold, each guard, each subtle test of patience and understanding. Her path is lined with gates, each symbolizing a layer of the self to be surrendered or observed. With every removal of ornament or token of identity, she sheds attachment, revealing a vulnerability that is both humbling and illuminating. These are not mere rituals of hardship, but quiet meditations on the impermanence of power, pride, and attachment. The hymns sung to Inanna in Mesopotamian temples are delicate and resonant, offering a space for reflection rather than spectacle. Softly intoned chants echo through courtyards and halls, inviting worshippers to slow their breath and witness the goddess's journey. The words of these hymns speak to longing and surrender, to the heart's capacity for resilience, and to the beauty inherent in transformation. As one listens, it is as if the space itself becomes a sanctuary, a calm vessel in which the motions of shadow and light can be held safely. Without fear, Inanna's trials in the underworld mirror human experience in subtle ways. Each gate, each encounter, reflects the internal challenges of letting go, facing fear, and embracing change. Unlike dramatic tales of conquest or punishment, her story is meditative, a careful unraveling of ego and certainty, revealing the essence beneath. Listeners can imagine standing beside her in quiet contemplation, observing the passage from attachment to insight. Each step is measured, each surrender carries meaning, and each moment offers the soft illumination of understanding. Her return from the underworld is equally instructive. Inanna does not emerge triumphant in a loud or violent manner. Her reappearance is measured, deliberate, and suffused with a sense of restored balance. Life, love, and desire continue, transformed by the journey. She carries the lessons of shadowed realms into the waking world, embodying the idea that courage is quiet, resilience is gentle, and growth often comes through surrender rather than struggle. In this, the goddess offers a model for reflection, that even in loss, even in hardship, the heart may remain tender, attentive, and alive. Temples and shrines dedicated to Inanna were places where people could witness this duality of shadow and light. Rituals often involved quiet offerings of flowers, water, or small tokens, gestures that mirrored the goddess's own careful negotiation of the underworld. Sacred spaces encouraged introspection, an awareness of both desire and limitation, and an embrace of transformation as a natural rhythm of life. Here, the divine journey becomes a mirror for human experience, a slow meditation on the cycles of attachment, loss, and renewal. Inanna's connection with love and war further illustrates her complex yet gentle presence. Love is not only romantic or erotic, but also a symbol of connection, of empathy, and of life's tender interweaving. War is not celebrated for conquest or aggression, but represents the courage to confront uncertainty, to engage with challenge, and to hold space for growth. These aspects of the goddess remind the listener that the heart's strength is measured not in dominance, but in its capacity to endure, to transform, and to remain soft even in the face of trials. As the story unfolds, one can imagine drifting alongside Inanna through shadowed corridors, observing her careful negotiation with forces unseen. Each step is purposeful, each encounter a subtle lesson. She moves not with haste, but with attentive awareness, understanding that transformation is not instantaneous, and that the heart must move through reflection, surrender, and patience. Her journey becomes a meditation on resilience, illustrating that courage is often quiet, soft, and sustained over time rather than sudden or loud. The landscapes of her myths also hold gentle imagery. Underworld rivers flow silently, cliffs rise like waiting sentinels, and gates stand as measured thresholds. The natural world echoes the inner journey, still waters reflecting the sky, winds stirring without disturbance, shadows softening into the contours of the earth. In this quiet observation, listeners may feel themselves aligned with the rhythm of the goddess's journey, sensing the subtle interplay of light and dark, attachment and release, longing and understanding. Inanna teaches that reflection is not a passive act, but a dynamic engagement with one's own depths. Her descent invites the listener to consider which parts of themselves require attention, which attachments may be gently released, and where patience and surrender can create space for growth. Her myth does not impose lessons through fear or spectacle, but through the quiet recognition of human vulnerability and divine guidance. In these moments, reflection becomes a soft practice, a lullaby for the mind and heart, attuned to subtle rhythms of transformation. The goddess also models an awareness of timing. Inanna's journey through the underworld is precise. Each gate opens in sequence, each trial arrives in its moment, never hurried, never delayed. This gentle structure mirrors the natural progression of life. The listener may reflect on how change unfolds, sometimes slowly, sometimes imperceptibly, always with care and intention. There is an implicit reassurance in this pace that transformation, while often challenging, is guided by principles of balance, patience, and subtle wisdom. Her hymns, often accompanied by soft music or quiet instruments, reinforce this meditative tone. The cadence of words, the repetition of invocations, and the careful attention to rhythm create an auditory space where the listener can sink into contemplation. Breathing slows, thoughts settle, and the imagination moves gently through the landscapes of shadow and light. The goddess's story becomes a quiet companion, guiding awareness without urgency, nurturing reflection without demand. Inanna's presence, while tender, is not without intensity. Love, desire, courage, and reflection coexist in her being, illustrating that the heart can hold complexity without breaking. The underworld descent emphasizes that vulnerability is not weakness. It is a pathway to deeper insight and enduring resilience. Observing her myth, one senses that true strength is measured not in force, but in the capacity to meet the unknown with awareness, to carry lessons from shadow into illumination, and to sustain tenderness in the midst of challenge. By engaging with the story of Inanna, listeners are invited to consider their own internal landscapes, which shadows call for gentle attention. Where can patience and surrender create space for growth? How might the heart embrace both longing and courage without losing softness? The myth provides a guide, not through prescription, but through example, through the quiet modeling of resilience, reflection, and transformative presence. Even after the goddess returns from the underworld, her influence lingers. Life continues, but the world is subtly altered. Awareness deepens, patterns become more visible, and understanding grows in quiet, steady increments. The listener may notice parallels in their own life, moments of reflection, periods of patience, and the gentle evolution of thought and feeling. Inanna's myth is a living meditation, a lullaby that unfolds slowly, carrying the soft melancholy of change alongside the enduring light of insight. Her story is ultimately an invitation to witness transformation with attentiveness, to hold the heart open through trials, and to find calm in the awareness that even in shadow, life moves gently forward. Inanna's lament is not sorrowful or alarming. It is reflective, nurturing, and deeply human. It reassures the mind that growth, like the river's slow journey, is patient, ongoing, and imbued with quiet wisdom. In the soft melancholy of Inanna, there is a space for reflection and rest. One can imagine walking beside her, feeling the measured pace of her steps, observing the shadows that pass without resistance, and listening to the subtle whispers of transformation. Her story encourages the heart to remain tender, the mind to remain attentive, and the spirit to move gently through cycles of growth and change. In this presence, the listener discovers a lullaby of resilience, a meditation on gentle courage, and a soft, enduring space for reflection and calm. Perhaps, as you drift alongside Inanna, you might ask yourself, how does the heart hold both longing and surrender? And in this question, there is a quiet invitation to observe, reflect, and rest, carried gently along the currents of myth, shadow, and light. Chapter 5: Vishnu's Dreaming Oceans. Across the lands of ancient India, in a world shaped by rivers, mountains, and dense forests, Vishnu rests upon cosmic waters. These waters are not ordinary. They stretch infinitely, holding the potential of creation itself. Upon their surface floats the god, supported and embraced by the great serpent, Enki, whose 1,000 coils shimmer in quiet patience. In this stillness, there is neither hurry nor tension, only the gentle rhythm of life flowing through a vast, eternal sea. Each ripple carries the subtle pulse of existence, a meditation of continuity that has inspired devotion and reflection for centuries. Vishnu's repose is profound. His body lies in perfect balance, one hand gently supporting the cosmos, the other resting in quiet serenity. Around him, the waters undulate softly, reflecting light in slow, deliberate patterns. In the myths, these waves are not merely decorative. They represent the cycles of creation, preservation, and dissolution. Every motion of the ocean is measured, every current intentional, guiding the worlds within his dreams toward harmony. To observe Vishnu is to witness the patient unfolding of time itself, a rhythm that mirrors the natural cycles of day, night, birth, and renewal. The serpent who cradles Vishnu embodies infinity and support. The coils of the serpent stretch endlessly across the waters, reminding the listener that the universe is vast yet orderly, continuous yet patterned. In this imagery, one senses that even in apparent stillness, there is motion, an underlying force sustaining life and time. Vishnu's dreams rest upon this foundation, worlds arising, evolving, and dissolving in quiet succession. There is no chaos here, no urgency, only a patient unfolding, where creation is nurtured and guided with attentive care. The concept of Vishnu as resting upon the cosmic ocean conveys a profound understanding of balance and preservation. Unlike myths of sudden creation or violent upheaval, these stories emphasize deliberation and cyclical harmony. Worlds emerge from his dreams, form, and eventually return to the waters, only to arise again. This cycle reflects a vision of existence in which continuity and patience govern all life. Humans, animals, and gods are not separated from this rhythm. Each participates, consciously or unconsciously, in the gentle ebb and flow of cosmic order. Temples and art dedicated to Vishnu often depict him reclining gracefully, surrounded by the waters and the coils of a knot. These visualizations are carefully constructed, using proportion and perspective to communicate serenity, balance, and divine care. Priests and devotees would meditate upon these images, chanting hymns that echo the rhythm of waves, observing the god's repose, and letting the mind settle into the slow pulse of creation. In this ritualized attention, worship becomes a practice of reflection, alignment, and gentle devotion. The body relaxes, the breath slows, and the heart attunes to the quiet teachings embedded in myth. Vishnu's dreams are not idle. They contain entire worlds populated by gods, humans, and nature in intricate interconnection. Mountains rise and rivers flow, forests expand, and civilizations take root, all within the stillness of his meditation. In this vision, life is both deliberate and fluid, governed by principles that maintain balance while allowing growth and change. Observing the myth, one senses that creation is never abrupt, never forceful, but a careful unfolding, where every element exists in relation to the others. Even destruction, when it occurs, is a gentle return to the ocean, a preparation for renewal rather than loss. These myths also emphasize devotion and harmony. The relationship between Vishnu, Ananta, and the cosmic ocean symbolizes the interconnectedness of all things. The god is not detached from creation, but rests within it, aware of the worlds that emerge from his consciousness. This intertwining invites reflection. How might our lives, actions, and thoughts participate in larger patterns of care and continuity? How can one move through the world with both presence and patience, attending to cycles and rhythms that extend beyond immediate perception? The myth suggests that observation, attention, and devotion are forms of alignment with the universe itself. The sound of sacred waters becomes a meditation in itself. One can imagine waves lapping gently against the infinite coils of Ananta, their quiet hum echoing across creation. These sounds invite the listener to slow their breathing, to feel the pulse of time and life, and to recognize the subtle continuity that sustains all things. Just as the waters reflect light and movement, the mind may reflect upon its own rhythms, finding calm and perspective within the broader flow of existence. In this observation, myth becomes both guide and lullaby, offering reassurance through the slow, attentive unfolding of cosmic patterns. Vishnu's dreams also reveal the principle of preservation. While worlds emerge and dissolve, there is an underlying stability maintained by the god's presence. Life continues in cycles, each iteration subtly informed by the previous, each moment a continuation rather than a beginning or end. This perspective offers a soft lesson in resilience, patience, and mindful engagement with time. The listener is invited to consider that even amidst change, there is constancy, and even in apparent stillness, there is attentive care guiding the flow of life. Ananta's infinite coils symbolize the unseen support that sustains all things. The serpent's presence reminds us that stability often exists beyond immediate perception, quietly holding the weight of worlds and dreams alike. In contemplating this, one might reflect on the subtle supports in one's own life connections, routines, and principles that allow existence to unfold without abruptness. There is comfort in recognizing these steady forces, whether divine or human, and in aligning one's awareness with their slow, measured rhythm. The cosmic ocean itself is both symbol and environment. Its waters ripple gently, yet its depth is immeasurable. Within these waters, life, thought, and spirit intermingle, forming a tapestry of continuity. Creation is not rushed. It is nurtured and attended with care. Each wave carries meaning, each reflection offers insight, and each movement is a lesson in balance. Listeners may imagine themselves as leaves upon these waters, drifting without resistance, carried by the enduring rhythm of cosmic patience. In this quiet presence, awareness expands while tension subsides, allowing rest and reflection to take root. Vishnu's dreams also intersect with human life through avatars, manifestations that descend into the world to restore balance and guide beings along their path. Each avatar, while distinct, remains connected to the calm of the cosmic ocean, demonstrating that divine attention reaches into the everyday world. This interaction suggests that the principles of patience, harmony, and continuity are not abstract but practical, available to those who observe, reflect, and act with care. The listener can perceive these myths as gentle instructions to live with mindfulness, to honor cycles, and to engage with life through both reflection and compassionate action. The imagery of reclining upon infinite waters encourages a form of meditative alignment. One might visualize the gentle rise and fall of waves, the soft undulation of Ananta's coils, and the still repose of Vishnu. In this mental space, thoughts slow, awareness deepens, and the heart resonates with the soft pulse of creation. Life, in this visualization, is both expansive and contained, moving continuously yet predictably, like a tide that rises and recedes without urgency or strain. Observing this rhythm becomes a practice of inner calm, a way to experience the steady patience of cosmic order. In the broader context of Hindu philosophy, Vishnu's dreaming oceans convey a deep understanding of the universe's cyclical nature. Creation, preservation, and dissolution are interwoven, not in dramatic bursts, but in continuous, attentive flow. Life mirrors this principle, with periods of activity, reflection, growth, and rest unfolding naturally. By contemplating the myth, one aligns with these rhythms, finding solace in the awareness that change is neither abrupt nor chaotic, and that continuity is maintained by attentive, patient care. Ultimately, the myth of Vishnu resting upon the cosmic ocean is a meditation on harmony, devotion, and presence. It invites the listener to reflect upon the slow, deliberate movements of life, to recognize the underlying patterns that sustain existence, and to find calm within them. The quiet waves, the infinite coils, and the serene God create a space where awareness, patience, and reverence coexist. One may drift in imagination like a leaf upon the sacred waters, feeling the gentle instruction of myth as it guides the mind toward reflection and peace. Perhaps, as you listen, you might ask yourself, how can your own thoughts and actions flow with the cycles of life, like a leaf carried on Vishnu's waters? And in this question, there is a quiet invitation to rest, to observe, and to align with the enduring pulse of harmony and devotion. Chapter 6. The serene balance of yin and yang. In the quiet valleys and flowing rivers of ancient China, the philosophy of yin and yang emerged as a subtle guide to understanding the universe. These are not simply forces of light and dark, good and bad, but complementary energies, each necessary for the other, each shaping life in a continuous, gentle cycle. Yin and yang swirl together in a cosmic dance, a rhythm that moves without haste, a melody that has quietly guided thought, behavior, and ritual for thousands of years. Yin represents softness, receptivity, and the hidden aspects of life. It is the shadowed slope of a mountain, the cool shade under a bamboo grove, the stillness of a pond at dawn. Yang embodies light, activity, and outward expression, like sunlight spilling across the hills, the warmth of morning wind, or the rising tide that moves steadily against the shore. Neither force exists in isolation. Their meaning comes from their relationship, their interdependence, and the soft equilibrium they maintain. The symbol of the Taijitsu, familiar to many as the circle of black and white with intertwined teardrops, captures this harmony in a simple image. Each side contains a small dot of the other, reminding the observer that within light there is shadow, and within shadow there is light. Life itself mirrors this principle. Moments of activity are shaped by rest. Strength is nurtured through softness, and clarity emerges through subtle reflection. Ancient sages observed these patterns in nature, in the movement of the seasons, and in the flow of rivers, noting that the universe thrives not through dominance, but through balance. Consider the turning of the seasons. For example, spring arrives with movement and growth, yet winter's stillness is essential, allowing the land to rest and renew. Rivers swell with rain, yet they recede to nourish fields, teaching the lesson of rhythm and patience. Yin and yang are present not only in cosmic or philosophical abstraction, but in daily experience, in the ebb and flow of life, in the soft, natural transitions that shape existence. The philosophy extends into human behavior and health. Traditional Chinese medicine observes the interplay of yin and yang within the body, recognizing that balance sustains vitality and disharmony brings subtle strain. Breath, energy, and circulation are understood as flows of these complementary forces. Gentle practices, like Qigong and Tai, cultivate awareness of yin and yang, guiding the practitioner to move with intention while resting with acceptance, to act without forcing, and to reflect without judgment. These are not acts of performance but meditative alignment with the pulse of life itself. Yin and Yang also shaped thought and governance. Ancient texts suggest that rulers who understand the balance of forces govern with patience and flexibility. Decisions are neither imposed by force nor deferred endlessly, but made in rhythm with circumstance. Nature's own cycles offer guidance. Rivers carve valleys without haste. Wind shapes mountains over centuries, and the sun and moon move in steady pattern. Observing these principles encourages the mind to align with the natural flow, to recognize that stillness and movement, light and shadow, are not in conflict but in dialogue, in art and symbolism. This philosophy finds expression in subtle ways. Landscapes are painted with both open space and detailed brushwork, mountains and mist, light and shadow. Poetry celebrates contrasts, finding beauty in the interplay rather than in separation. Music balances high and low notes, fast and slow tempos, echoing the soft dialogue of duality. Through these cultural expressions, the teaching of yin and yang permeates daily life, providing both aesthetic pleasure and quiet instruction in harmony and moderation. The Tao, or way, is intimately connected to this balance. It is less a force to be controlled than a path to be observed. Walking the Tao involves noticing the flow of yin and yang in the world, aligning action with natural rhythm and finding ease in acceptance. The rivers of energy that move through all things, through mountains, forests, and human hearts are the same rivers observed in the gentle alternation of yin and yang. By attuning to them, the mind can soften, the body can relax, and the spirit can sense continuity in the midst of change. In daily life, these forces manifest subtly. A morning spent in sunlight, followed by a quiet evening under the moon, mirrors the principle. Activity and rest are not opposites to be conquered, but partners to be integrated. Decisions may be balanced by reflection, strength tempered by patience, and ambition guided by empathy. The philosophy teaches that life is not about eliminating shadows or maximizing light, but observing and honoring the interaction of both. Each breath, step, and moment becomes a meditation, a participation in the gentle rhythm that governs all existence. Even the simplest natural experiences reveal this balance. The bamboo bends under wind, yet returns to upright posture. Water flows around obstacles, yielding yet persistent. Clouds drift across the sky, sometimes masking the sun, yet their movement is part of the light's journey. The sages observed such patterns and understood them as reflections of yin and yang, subtle instructions on how to move through the world without resistance, how to rest without stagnation, and how to act without overreach. Breathing in this philosophy, one may imagine energy moving quietly through the body, a soft, meditative tide. Darkness softens light. Light nourishes shadow. Thoughts ebb and flow. Worries rise and fall. Sensations come and go. In this awareness, the mind finds calm. The pulse beneath life's surface, the rhythmic dance of yin and yang, mirrors the quiet steadiness of one's own breath, heartbeat, and presence. It is a gentle instruction to release tension, to move without forcing, and to rest within the natural flow. The myths that accompany these concepts reinforce their quiet power. Stories of celestial beings, sages, and immortals often depict the consequences of imbalance. Seasons disrupted, crops failing, or communities suffering. These narratives are not told in alarm but in reflection, guiding listeners toward observation and moderation. Through narrative, one can trace the consequences of ignoring balance and the subtle rewards of alignment. These stories encourage mindfulness, patience, and an awareness of the interconnectedness of all things. Even in contemplation, yin and yang remind the listener that the universe operates through duality, not separation. Life is a continuum, a conversation between forces rather than a conflict to be resolved. Each element contains a trace of the other, and every movement calls for counterbalance. This principle extends to thought, emotion, and spirit. Joy is enhanced by sorrow, action is deepened by reflection, and clarity emerges from a recognition of complexity. Observing this duality fosters both acceptance and ease, creating a space where the mind can settle, body can relax, and spirit can feel attuned to the larger rhythm of life. In practical reflection, one can imagine the rivers of energy flowing through all things, the wind across a field, the pulse of a river, the quiet movement of clouds, or the soft progression of one's own thoughts. Each carries the subtle instruction of yin and yang, encouraging the observer to breathe, align, and move gently. There is no urgency, no need to control the tide, only an invitation to notice, harmonize, and rest within the natural flow. Through this philosophy, listeners are invited into a meditative awareness that encompasses both the external world and internal life. Mountains, rivers, seasons, and human hearts all participate in the same dance of complementary forces. By observing these rhythms, one cultivates patience, understanding, and quiet insight. Even amidst apparent chaos, the underlying pattern of balance persists, offering reassurance and a gentle guide toward ease and reflection. Perhaps, as you imagine these swirling currents of yin and yang, you might notice the duality within yourself, moments of stillness and movement, light and shadow, strength and softness. How might you move with the natural rhythm rather than resist it? And in this gentle questioning, there is an open space, a meditative tide upon which awareness drifts, calm and unbroken, shaping both body and mind. Chapter 7. The Quiet Garden of Demeter. In the gentle landscapes of ancient Greece, fields stretch under soft sunlight, golden with ripening grains. It is here that Demeter, goddess of the harvest, moves quietly among stalks of wheat and beds of fruit, her hands brushing the earth with attentive care. Her presence is measured, deliberate, and nurturing. She does not hurry, yet life responds to her touch, unfolding in quiet rhythm. Each sprout, each blossom, seems to reflect her steady devotion, carrying the subtle lesson that growth is patient and attentive. Demeter's story is intertwined with both abundance and sorrow. Her daughter, Persephone, embodies the seasonal ebb and flow, departing to the underworld and returning again, teaching that absence and return are inseparable parts of life. This departure is not a tale of despair, but a reflection on the natural cycles of loss and renewal. In her mourning, fields pause, earth rests, and the quiet stillness becomes part of the sacred rhythm. Through these patterns, the Greeks understood that the ebb of life carries meaning, and that tender longing, like winter waiting for spring, is itself a form of care. The myths surrounding Demeter are filled with attentiveness and subtle reflection. Temples dedicated to her often contained altars surrounded by growing crops or floral offerings, inviting worshippers to observe the slow maturation of life. Hymns and prayers were sung in gentle tones, emphasizing reverence rather than fervor. In these quiet acts of devotion, the community participated in the goddess's rhythm, aligning themselves with the pulses of the earth and the seasons. They were reminded that patience, care, and acknowledgement of natural cycles bring understanding and comfort. The earth itself responds to Demeter's presence. Grains swell with moisture, fruits deepen in color, and the wind moves softly through fields, carrying the scent of growth. These sensory details form a quiet meditation. Observing them, one begins to notice subtle shifts. The progression from seed to harvest, from rest to abundance. The goddess's attention is reflected in the land, and through reflection, the listener can sense the soft pulse of life, steady and unhurried, guiding awareness toward calm observation and gentle appreciation. Persephone's descent to the underworld is a pivotal moment in these myths. Her journey brings an interval of quiet sorrow, mirrored in the earth itself. Fields lie fallow, trees are bare, and the world seems to pause, mirroring the internal rhythm of grief and anticipation. Yet even in absence, there is continuity. Demeter's care does not cease. She nurtures patiently, knowing the cycle will restore life. In this, the myth offers a reflection on resilience, even when what is beloved is distant. Care and attention maintain the foundation for renewal. Season by season, the patterns of growth and rest teach subtle truths about balance. Spring returns, and with it, the presence of Persephone, symbolizing reunion, joy, and the renewal of life. Harvests swell, and communities gather in gratitude, attuned to the cycles that sustain them. In these rhythms, the listener can sense a broader harmony, an interweaving of absence and presence, of sorrow and restoration. Life itself becomes a soft reflection of the goddess's enduring care, moving in patterns that are predictable yet full of quiet wonder. Demeter's teachings extend beyond agriculture into philosophy and daily practice. Her story encourages the observer to notice patterns, to accept pauses as necessary, and to recognize that growth and rest are equally vital. Reflection upon these cycles fosters patience and understanding, as the mind learns to move in harmony with the larger rhythms of nature. One may imagine the gentle rustle of wheat, the sunlight reflecting on ripened fruit, and the slow dance of seasons, all inviting awareness and calm contemplation. Temples and festivals dedicated to Demeter also offered a communal space for reflection. The Eleusinian mysteries, for example, celebrated the goddess and her daughter with rites that honored the cycle of life, death, and return. Participants engaged in meditative practices, silent observance, and gentle rituals that reinforced the lessons of balance and continuity. These ceremonies were not designed for spectacle or fear, but for deep reflection, aligning human life with the sacred rhythms of the natural world, even within the personal sphere. Demeter's myth offers guidance. The process of caring for others, cultivating life, or tending responsibilities reflects her attentive, patient presence. One may see the soft echoes of her wisdom in daily routines, the nurturing of relationships, the management of tasks, the quiet cultivation of inner growth. Each action becomes part of a larger rhythm, a small participation in the cycles that govern life, reminding the listener that even ordinary care carries sacred significance. The fragrance of imagined wheat fields can serve as a meditative focus, visualizing golden stalks swaying gently under the sun, feeling the warmth of the earth, and sensing the rhythm of growth. One may attune to the slow, nurturing pulse of the goddess. In this sensory meditation, the mind softens, breathing slows, and the heart aligns with the natural cycle of abundance and rest. Even sorrow becomes part of the landscape, integrated into the pattern rather than a disruption, creating space for gentle reflection and awareness. Demeter's quiet power lies in her balance between nurture and acceptance. She teaches that care is not only in action, but in patience, that attending to life's needs requires observation as much as effort, that absence is as instructive as presence. In this understanding, one recognizes that quiet attention, consistent and unhurried, fosters resilience and harmony. Life unfolds not in abrupt bursts, but through sustained, attentive rhythm, mirroring the goddess's enduring, subtle guidance. Through observation of her myth, one also senses the interconnectedness of all living things. Humans, crops, animals, and seasons exist within a shared web of cycles. Demeter's attention and care extend across this web, showing that even small acts of nurturing resonate beyond the immediate, contributing to broader harmony. By reflecting on these patterns, one may perceive life as a series of connected movements, a soft tide of giving and receiving, sowing and resting, presence and absence. The myth also carries gentle instruction for moments of loss. Persephone's departure is never permanent. Her return is assured by the natural order. In life, losses may appear and absences may create quiet spaces, but these periods are woven into cycles of renewal. The listener is invited to rest in these pauses, to allow reflection to unfold without hurry, and to trust in the return of light, warmth, and growth. In this, grief becomes a teacher, absence becomes meaningful, and patience becomes a companion. Demeter's attention to detail, from tending individual grains to guiding seasonal patterns, emphasizes mindfulness. Observing the myth invites similar practice, noticing the subtleties in one's environment, the small changes in time and circumstance, and the rhythms of body, mind, and spirit. Life, like the goddess's garden, responds to care, observation, and patient alignment. In this awareness, the listener can feel the soft structure of order, not rigid, but gentle and flowing, allowing space for reflection and calm presence. As the seasons continue their cycle, the quiet garden remains a place of meditation. Wheat ripens, fruits mature, and the earth rests before the next emergence. Demeter's quiet guidance assures that each moment is part of a continuum, each phase carrying meaning and connection. The listener may imagine walking through these fields, sensing the warmth of the sun, the coolness of shade, the texture of grain, and the soft sound of wind moving through stalks. Each detail reinforces the rhythm of life and the steady, patient presence of care. Ultimately, the quiet garden of Demeter offers a space for contemplation. Life unfolds in cycles of nurture and absence, growth and pause, activity and rest. By observing these rhythms, one attunes to a deeper understanding of balance and harmony. The goddess's myth is both instruction and lullaby, a reminder that attention, patience, and gentle care sustain life, guide reflection, and create space for restorative stillness. Perhaps, as you imagine the golden fields and the gentle hand of Demeter, you might notice your own cycles of presence and absence, action and pause. How might you nurture without urgency, attend without grasping, and rest within the quiet rhythms of life? And in this gentle questioning, there is space to drift into reflective stillness, attuned to the enduring pulse of earth and sky. Chapter 8. Osiris' Eternal Repose. Along the quiet banks of the Nile. where reeds sway in gentle currents and sunlight glimmers on still waters. The myth of Osiris unfolds with a calm and measured presence. He is not a god of terror, nor a figure of sharp upheaval. Instead, Osiris embodies the soft rhythm of restoration, the patient unfolding of life into death and back into life again. In ancient Egypt, he is remembered as the eternal ruler of the underworld, a guide whose vigilance brings assurance rather than fear, and whose cycle mirrors the natural order of existence. Osiris' story begins with life among mortals and immortals alike. As a king and a god, a presence both nurturing and wise, he taught the arts of agriculture, the ways of law, and the rhythms of harvest. Crops flourish under his attention, and communities prosper in alignment with his guidance. His myth gently links human endeavor with the cycles of the land, reminding us that life thrives when balanced with patience, care, and understanding. From this quiet authority emerges a vision of existence that is neither hurried nor frantic, but steady and thoughtful. The heart of Osiris's tale, however, is his passage into the underworld. Betrayal and death appear in the narrative, but the telling emphasizes continuity rather than tragedy. The land mourns, the fields pause, and the natural rhythm of life is acknowledged in its ebb and flow. Yet even in absence, Osiris's presence remains. He is reassembled, restored, and transformed, teaching that endings are not absolute, but part of a wider pattern of renewal. This gentle message, carried through myth, reassures the listener that cycles of loss and return are inherent to existence itself. The underworld over which Osiris presides is not a place of torment, but a landscape of calm observation and guided passage. Reeds line tranquil waters, and rivers move in reflective currents, echoing the stillness of dusk. Souls travel these paths under his watchful eye, their journey attended with care and attention. The imagery is soft, almost meditative, a river bending gently through the land, the whisper of reeds, the quiet movement of light across water. Through such symbolism, the myth communicates a profound sense of safety and continuity, framing death as a transition rather than an interruption. Central to the Osirian vision is the idea of harmony between the living and the departed. Offerings of grain, bread, and incense were placed at altars, honoring both the god and the ancestors. Rituals, prayers, and hymns were conducted not with urgency or fear, but with respect and mindful attention. Communities participated in the cycles of life, death, and restoration, aligning themselves with Osiris' gentle guidance. In these acts, human lives mirrored the divine rhythm, tending, pausing, observing, and trusting in the unfolding of natural and spiritual order. Agriculture itself serves as a reflection of Osiris' principles. The Nile's annual flooding, which brings fertility to the land, mirrors the cycle of death and renewal central to his myth. Seeds are sown, buried beneath the soil, resting quietly before emerging into life. This natural rhythm is both literal and symbolic. The Earth's cycles echo the underworld's processes, suggesting that continuity is woven into every element of existence. Observing these patterns, one may notice the slow, deliberate unfolding of life, a rhythm that invites both patience and reflection. The symbolic imagery of Osiris extends beyond agriculture. His depiction often shows him mummified, serene, and upright, holding the crook and flail tools of guidance and care. These are not instruments of violence, but of stewardship. Through them, he governs with attention and consistency, teaching that authority is most profound when exercised with quiet presence and steady insight. His form is an invitation to rest in the assurance of order, to sense continuity even when circumstances shift, and to trust in the careful rhythms of the universe. Death, in the Osirian worldview, is a passage rather than a cessation. The underworld is carefully ordered, a realm of reflection and preparation. Souls navigate its quiet spaces, guided by principles of harmony, weighed by justice, and attended with care. The emphasis is on gentle instruction rather than punishment. This vision of the afterlife reflects the broader Egyptian understanding of continuity. Life, death, and renewal are threads of the same fabric, moving together in a steady, comprehensible rhythm. Meditative attention is central to the Osirian myth. Listening to hymns or reading tales of his guidance invites quiet reflection. One can imagine standing at the river's edge, feeling the soft wind in the reeds, observing light glint across still waters, and sensing a presence that is steady, kind, and encompassing. These sensory details mirror the teachings of the myth. Existence is best approached with awareness, acceptance, and the recognition that cycles unfold naturally, without hurry or disturbance. Even within human experience, the myth offers subtle instruction. Moments of personal loss, uncertainty, or change can be understood as natural pauses within a larger continuum. Osiris' example teaches that these intervals are neither final nor chaotic. They are spaces for reflection, restoration, and preparation for renewed life. By attending to these transitions with care, one participates in the same rhythm that governs the cosmos. Life's quiet ebb and flow, like the river at dusk, becomes a companion, offering stability and reassurance. The rituals associated with Osiris further reinforce the gentle rhythm of his influence. Offerings of bread, beer, and flowers were intended to honor the ongoing cycles of life and death, acknowledging the deity's presence and the continuity of existence. Observers and participants were encouraged to reflect upon the interdependence of the living and the departed, to recognize the harmony underlying change, and to cultivate mindfulness in their own daily routines. Through these practices, the myth was experienced not only intellectually, but as a soft, living meditation. The architecture of temples and shrines to Osiris reflects the same principles of calm and order. Courtyards, gardens, and riverfront altars were designed to evoke serenity and contemplation. Paths were carefully aligned, chambers positioned to catch light at different times of day, and the movement through space was intended to mirror the gentle flow of the river itself. These structures guided both sight and thought, inviting the visitor into a state of quiet awareness, aligned with the rhythms of Osiris' domain. In reflecting on Osiris' eternal repose, one may consider the interplay of life and afterlife, growth and decay, presence and absence. Each moment is part of a continuum, each cycle reinforcing the next. Fields grow and are harvested. Seeds are buried and emerge. The sun rises and sets. Within this pattern, Osiris myth provides a soft anchor, a gentle reminder that nothing is lost, nothing is wasted, and that care and attention persists beyond the boundaries of mortality, even the simplest details. Like the rustle of reeds along a riverbank or the quiet movement of water, can serve as meditative guides. Listening to the natural environment, attuning to subtle changes in light and movement, and reflecting on these cycles within oneself allows the listener to inhabit the rhythm that Osiris embodies. The myth becomes not only a story of the past, but a lens through which to perceive continuity, a calm meditation upon life, death, and the spaces between. Through Osiris, one is reminded of the sacredness of attention and the value of patience. Life unfolds in sequences, not abrupt events. Restoration is gradual, and care sustains continuity. The deity's example encourages one to observe gently, act with intention, and trust in the processes that govern existence. Even in moments of shadow or absence, the underlying rhythm persists, soft and reassuring, like a river that flows steadily toward the horizon. Perhaps, as you imagine the quiet waterways and the serene gaze of Osiris, you may notice the cycles within yourself, periods of stillness, moments of reflection, intervals of growth and pause. How might you move through these transitions with gentle attention, allowing life's rhythms to guide you rather than forcing them? And in this gentle contemplation, there is space to rest, to reflect, and to drift toward quiet reassurance, accompanied by the eternal calm of Osiris's presence. Chapter 9. The star-wrapped dreams of Anu. High above the rivers and plains of ancient Mesopotamia, the sky stretches in serene expanse, filled with the glimmering constellations that have guided generations. It is in this vastness that Anu, the father of gods, maintains a quiet vigilance. He does not act with haste or caprice. His movements are deliberate, patient, a soft architecture of order woven into the cosmos. From his celestial vantage, the heavens themselves pulse with a gentle rhythm, and each star seems to shimmer as though reflecting thought itself, still and reflective. Like sunlight on a placid river, Anu's presence is one of calm oversight. He embodies the principle that creation is expansive, patient, and deliberate. In the myths, he is less a figure of drama and more a stabilizing force. A quiet observer whose gaze ensures that the cycles of gods, humans, and nature unfold harmoniously. His domain is not confined to the heavens. It is mirrored in the structures of law, the patterns of seasons, and the quiet ordering of daily life in Mesopotamia. Civilization itself, in its most attentive moments, reflects the subtle guidance of this distant and watchful deity. The heavens tell stories of Anu's influence, stories that are gentle in their instruction. Stars and planets trace paths that mirror principles of balance and continuity, teaching that every motion, no matter how small, is part of a larger design. Observing these patterns, the ancients recognized the cycles of time, the inevitability of change, and the delicate harmony that sustains life. Through this observation, they understood that even vast spaces, seemingly indifferent, operate according to laws both invisible and consistent. The cosmos becomes a meditation, a reminder that order can exist without noise, and guidance can be quiet yet profound. Anu's myths often emphasize calm deliberation over impulsive action. When disputes among gods arise, his counsel is measured, designed to maintain equilibrium rather than assert dominance. This quality reflects a larger philosophical truth. Oversight need not be forceful to be effective. Patience, attention, and quiet reflection are sometimes more powerful than visible intervention. In contemplating Anu's role, the listener is invited to notice moments in their own life where subtlety and stillness bring resolution and harmony. The symbolic architecture of Anu's realm extends to human understanding of space, law, and order. Temples dedicated to celestial observation were positioned to align with stars, reflecting an awareness that even sacred spaces benefit from attentive planning and awareness of natural rhythms. Priests and astronomers interpreted the heavens not only as divine messages, but also as guides for societal balance, agriculture, and ritual. In this way, Anu's calm oversight becomes mirrored in the careful attention of human communities, who learn to attune themselves to the steady pulse of the cosmos. Within the stories of Anu, one finds a meditation on scale and patience. The vastness of the heavens can feel overwhelming, yet it is imbued with gentle order. Each star, each planetary movement unfolds without rush, yet with purpose. Drifting within this narrative, the listener is encouraged to feel their own breath as a reflection of cosmic rhythm, steady, unhurried, a soft cadence echoing the expansiveness above. The immensity of space becomes a quiet companion rather than a source of fear. Anu's influence also touches the cycles of human life, subtly reinforcing the patterns of growth, reflection, and continuation. The passage of time, the movement of celestial bodies, and the unfolding of seasons all speak to an underlying order that transcends immediate perception. Myths convey that even when events seem chaotic, a quiet oversight, like that of Anu, ensures continuity and balance. By attuning to these rhythms, one gains perspective, seeing life as a sequence of deliberate moments rather than fragmented events. In the quiet reflection upon Anu, one can imagine the stars as threads of thought, each shimmering with its own light yet connected within a larger tapestry. Constellations form patterns that are meaningful not through urgency, but through patient arrangement. Observing them invites gentle contemplation, a sense that the universe is alive in a soft, consistent pulse. The mind, like the sky, can expand into this quiet rhythm, finding both wonder and reassurance in measured order. The myths of Anu are not filled with overt conflict or dramatic confrontation. Rather, they speak of quiet guidance, the structuring of divine hierarchy, and the maintenance of cosmic harmony. Even in narratives where gods act in passionate or chaotic ways, Anu's presence serves as a stabilizing horizon, a reminder that balance is always possible. His calm vigilance encourages reflection in observing the larger framework of life. One may find solace, perspective, and gentle reassurance. Anu's oversight also extends to knowledge and wisdom. As father of gods, he is a symbol of intellectual reflection, encouraging the careful observation of patterns, sequences, and relationships. Ancient scholars, looking to the stars for signs and omens, engaged in a practice not of frantic searching, but of patient inquiry, tracing paths and cycles over months, seasons, and years. In this slow attentiveness, they mirrored Anu's own demeanor, learning that understanding unfolds best when approached with calm curiosity and measured focus. The imagery of the night sky itself offers meditation. Picture the vast firmament, scattered with stars that twinkle softly, distant yet intimately connected. Each light is a reminder of permanence and pattern. Observing them, one can sense both solitude and connection, vastness and intimacy, echoing the balance that Anu maintains. It is a visual whisper. Patience, awareness, and trust in the slow unfolding of events are sufficient to navigate the complexities of life and the cosmos. Even the smallest constellations reflect lessons in interdependence. Stars that appear separate to the casual eye reveal connections to those who observe attentively. Similarly, human lives, often perceived as isolated moments, gain meaning when seen within larger patterns. Anu's quiet oversight models this awareness, showing that every action, thought, and event has its place within the gentle flow of existence. By contemplating these connections, the listener can align with rhythms both cosmic and personal. The myths also suggest that stillness is as essential as motion. Anu watches without haste, allowing the cosmos to unfold naturally. In the quiet intervals of observation, patterns become apparent and wisdom is revealed. The listener, attuning to this principle, may recognize the value of reflection, the necessity of patience, and the insight available in moments of calm. Life's pace need not be dictated by urgency. It can be measured, deliberate, and full of attentive awareness. Through contemplation of Anu's domain, the mind may drift as if floating among the stars themselves. Consider each point of light as a soft reflection of thought, a distant presence that illuminates without pressure. The vastness of space mirrors the expansiveness of patience, and the orderly dance of celestial bodies models the gentle rhythm of life. In this awareness, the listener finds both scale and intimacy, the expanse of the heavens and the steady beat of a single, observing heart. Perhaps, as you let the imagery of star-wrapped dreams settle around you, you may notice your own inner sky, filled with quiet constellations of thought, feeling, and reflection. How might you observe your life with gentle attention, allowing each moment its proper space, while trusting in the subtle order that underlies existence? And in this gentle inquiry, there is space to drift, to rest, and to absorb the patient wisdom of the cosmos, guided by the serene gaze of Anu. Chapter 10. The Gentle Fire of Agni. In the heart of ancient Vedic India, a small flame rises steadily from the altar, flickering without hurry, holding its own quiet rhythm. This is Agni, the fire god, mediator between earth and heaven, human and divine. His flames do not roar with urgency. They glow with attentive patience, illuminating sacred spaces while consuming offerings with gentle diligence. Each spark is a soft reminder that transformation does not need to be violent, and that the act of change can be deliberate, measured, and reflective. Agni's presence is both physical and symbolic. In ritual, he carries the prayers of devotees upward, bridging the tangible and the ethereal. The offerings placed in his care grains, ghee, herbs are transfigured by his gentle flames, becoming carriers of devotion, intention, and connection. In this act, the fire itself becomes a teacher, demonstrating the rhythm of giving, the patience of waiting, and the grace of quiet attentiveness. Through observation, one begins to sense that transformation need not be rushed. It can be a slow, luminous process. The Vedic hymns dedicated to Agni offer more than praise. They are meditations on the essential nature of energy, change, and illumination. Recited softly, these verses invite the mind to settle into the cadence of ritual, to breathe in unhurried reflection. Agni is the axis around which both ceremony and understanding revolve. He exemplifies the principle that what is essential often moves imperceptibly, shaping lives and worlds without fanfare or haste. Listening to these hymns, one can imagine the fire's warmth spreading gently across the senses, a soft comfort that bridges thought and stillness. In the wider context of Vedic philosophy, Agni embodies continuity. He is the eternal presence at the center of life's cycles, marking transitions from one state to another. Birth, nourishment, and eventual return to the earth are all touched by his flame. This continuity is neither rigid nor alarming. It is a flowing sequence, a soft current of energy that sustains existence. Observing Agni teaches the value of patience, attentiveness, and quiet action. Even small gestures, when performed with care, ripple outward, influencing the world in ways that are often unseen but deeply significant. The ritual use of fire also mirrors internal transformation. As Agni consumes offerings, so too can the mind and heart release thoughts, attachments, and energies no longer needed. This consumption is not loss, but change, a refinement of intention and understanding. In the gentle crackle of flame, there is an invitation to meditate upon one's own inner processes, to recognize that transformation is not always loud or visible. Sometimes the most profound shifts occur in quiet warmth, unnoticed by the outside world but deeply felt within. Agni's mythology extends beyond the hearth and altar. He is present in the sky as lightning, in the forest as a flickering campfire, and in the volcanic and solar forces that shape the earth. These manifestations remind us that the same energy that comforts and nurtures can also reshape and renew. It is an energy that demands respect, not fear, and attentiveness, not force. The Vedic sages observed these forms and sought to align themselves with the fire's rhythm, learning that attunement brings harmony and understanding. There is also a gentle paradox in Agni's character. He consumes and transforms, yet he sustains. Without fire, meals cannot nourish, ceremonies cannot connect, and warmth cannot comfort. Within his flame is the duality of destruction and care, reminding us that endings are often beginnings, and transformation is inseparable from sustenance. The attentive observer can see in each flicker a meditation on impermanence, a quiet acknowledgement that everything changes, yet everything also persists in some form. In the practice of yena or fire sacrifice, Agni becomes the living bridge between mortal intent and divine awareness. The act is simple yet profound. Hands offer, fire receives, and devotion ascends. There is no rush, no dramatic flourish, only the patient rhythm of giving, burning, and witnessing. For those who listen, this rhythm becomes a lesson in gentle attention, an encouragement to act with care, to honor the quiet, formative forces that shape life. In this way, the fire is a mirror for the mind, patient, attentive, steady, and luminous. As one contemplates Agni's presence, it becomes possible to notice the small fires in life, the moments of insight, the spark of kindness, the warmth of understanding. Each is a reflection of the same principle, carried into different forms, reminding us that transformation is ongoing, pervasive, and often subtle. Just as Agni carries offerings to the heavens, so too can our thoughts, intentions, and care ripple outward, gently influencing the world in ways that are slow but enduring. There is also a contemplative quality to fire. Watching its rise and fall, the flicker and glow, one can feel a soft resonance with the passage of time. Moments like flames appear, shine, and fade, yet they leave traces in memory, space, and being. Agni embodies this rhythm, teaching the value of presence and attention. In his calm, steady illumination, there is a sense that life's transformations are neither accidental nor chaotic. They are deliberate, woven into the continuity of existence itself. Even the smoke rising from Agni's flames carries meaning. It is a bridge, visible and intangible, linking the material and spiritual realms. It whispers of impermanence, of movement beyond the physical, and of the quiet transmission of energy. Observing this, the listener can imagine their own thoughts and intentions being lifted, refined and released, carried into a space that is at once vast and intimately connected. In this meditation, fire is not fearsome but restorative, not consuming in threat but transformative in care. Agni's teachings, when reflected upon, extend into daily life. One learns to act with patience, to honor cycles, to release gently what is no longer needed, and to appreciate the quiet forces that sustain existence. The flame becomes a model of presence, steady, attentive, and luminous, without urgency, yet profoundly effective. Through this lens, the myths are not merely stories of a god, but guides to living with grace, care, and mindful awareness. In the end, the gentle fire of Agni invites a calm reflection. Listen to its soft crackle, let the warmth wash over thought, and imagine yourself aligned with a rhythm that is deliberate, patient, and sustaining. There is no rush, no demand for action, only the quiet, consistent glow that illuminates both world and mind. And as you rest in this glow, you may find a gentle lesson settling into your own heart. That change, guidance, and connection can all move with patience, warmth, and enduring care. Chapter 11. The Hidden Whispers of Tiamat. Beneath the early skies of Babylon, before cities rose and rivers were named, there existed a vast and endless sea. This was Tiamat, the primordial waters that stretched in silent depth, encompassing both the unknown and the nascent forms of life. Her presence is often spoken of in stories as chaotic, but there is a gentleness in her enormity, a rhythm that mirrors the slow breathing of the earth itself. To imagine Tiamat is to sense the quiet patience of beginnings, the soft unfolding of creation that moves with deliberate care, beneath the surface of what is immediately visible in the myths preserved on clay tablets. Tiamat embodies the origin of all things. From her waters emerge the first gods, and from her form, the world itself begins to take shape. The act of creation here is neither hurried nor violent in essence. It is expansive, a meditation upon the possibilities inherent in stillness and depth. Each ripple in her vast domain is a lesson in subtlety, reminding us that much of life's transformation occurs quietly beyond the grasp of ordinary observation. In this reflection, Tiamat teaches the value of patience and the awareness that time and depth carry their own wisdom. Her story also carries a gentle tension, one that balances the forces of order and disorder. As the myths unfold, Tiamat is confronted by younger gods, and the shaping of the cosmos begins. Yet even in conflict, her role is not one of mere destruction. She is the matrix from which the universe emerges, a container of possibility. The chaos attributed to her is more a reflection of untamed potential than malice quiet, living ocean that holds within it both risk and nourishment, beginning and end. Observing this, one can feel a soft resonance. Life, in its earliest forms, is neither hurried nor anxious. It is measured, encompassing, and deeply attuned to the rhythms of time. Tiamat's depths also remind us of the hidden aspects of our own minds and spirits. Like the unseen currents of the sea, there are vast reservoirs within us that move quietly, shaping thought, feeling, and perception. They are not immediately apparent, but they are potent, providing stability, inspiration, and sometimes challenge. To drift alongside Tiamat in imagination is to acknowledge these hidden currents, to accept that much of life's shaping occurs out of sight, in spaces that are profound, slow, and reflective. There is a serenity in this recognition, a lullaby of understanding that even the most expansive forces can hold calm and stillness. In Babylonian culture, Tiamat's story was more than mythology. It was a lens through which people could understand natural phenomena, the cycles of water, and the mysterious movements of the world around them. Her waters were rivers, marshes, and seas, all connected in a vast system that sustained life. By seeing Tiamat as both origin and ongoing presence, the ancients recognized the importance of balance between the visible and the hidden, the ordered and the formless. The myths serve as gentle reminders that creation is continuous, and that beneath every structured surface lies a quiet, patient current shaping everything it touches, even the sound of the sea, if listened to with care, echoes the teachings of Tiamat. Waves rise and fall without urgency, retreating only to return, each motion part of a greater rhythm. There is a resonance here with human life, with growth and reflection. Moments of silence, contemplation, and waiting are not emptiness. They are preparation, depth, and latent energy. In imagining Tiamat, one may feel enveloped by this rhythm, carried in a gentle current of time that flows beneath all visible activity, sustaining and shaping it. The myth of Tiamat also conveys a sense of unity in multiplicity. From her waters, diverse gods and elements emerge, each with their own roles and rhythms. The cosmos is born not as a single, isolated action, but as a confluence of energies and forms, all originating from a common, patient depth. Here, listeners may reflect upon the interconnection of life, the way individual threads emerge from a shared source, and how quiet forces, though unseen, guide the unfolding of events with steady persistence. There is a meditative quality to this reflection. To dwell on Tiamat's vastness is to encounter a calm that is both profound and nurturing. It invites one to slow the mind, to consider the patience inherent in the foundations of life, and to feel a sense of alignment with forces larger than immediate perception. In these quiet waters, beginnings are not rushed, and endings are not abrupt. Each cycle flows into the next, seamless, measured, and enduring. Tiamat also embodies a paradox of presence and absence. She is the visible sea, yet also the unseen depth beneath the waters, the potential for creation, yet the calm of inertia. It is a reminder that within life, there are spaces of latent possibility, stillness that is as vital as movement. Attuning to these spaces brings perspective. The world's unfolding is not always loud or frantic, but is often guided by the gentle, deliberate forces that operate beneath the surface. Such reflection encourages a soft attention to the rhythms of life, to patience, and to trust in the natural cadence of beginnings and renewal. Finally, Tiamat's whispers are a lullaby for thought and imagination. She asks no action, demands no immediate response, yet invites contemplation. By resting in the awareness of her presence, the listener can feel the slow pulse of life itself, the patient unfolding of time, the vast embrace of possibility, and the quiet, enduring force that underpins all creation. Here is a lesson in surrender, in understanding that depth and stillness can guide more profoundly than haste or force, and that within every expansive silence, there exists a gentle, unbroken rhythm of existence. Chapter 12. The moonlit silence of change. High above the lands of ancient China, the moon hangs like a silver lantern, illuminating quiet hills, rivers, and bamboo groves. In this serene glow, the goddess Change drifts, her presence as gentle and steady as the lunar light itself. She is not a figure of grand spectacle or loud proclamation. Instead, she embodies a soft, reflective grace, a quiet elegance that invites the mind to settle and the heart to pause. To imagine her is to imagine stillness, a breath held between night and dawn, a moment in which the world feels suspended, calm, and intimate. The myths tell that change ascended to the moon, leaving the earth behind, drawn by a fate both mysterious and inevitable. In some stories, her journey is the result of longing, of a desire to subtle and deep for immediate fulfillment. Yet in that solitude, there is a luminous serenity, a gentle wisdom that comes from patience and reflection. The moon itself becomes a companion, a mirror of quiet thought, casting its pale light over gardens, rivers, and rooftops below. Each shadow and shimmer in the night whispers the continuity of time, the rhythm of cycles, and the soft persistence of life's quiet truths. Change's story is often told alongside her connection to Hauyui, the archer whose deeds saved the earth from scorching suns. Their tale is not merely one of separation, but of balance, desire and restraint, presence and distance, longing and acceptance. In this contrast, listeners can sense the gentle pulse of human emotion mirrored in celestial patterns. Change's ethereal solitude reflects the tender spaces within ourselves, where memory, hope, and quiet contemplation intermingle. It is a reminder that solitude can be luminous, that reflection can be nurturing, and that patience is not emptiness, but a subtle form of grace. The moon, as witnessed by the ancients, became a canvas for these stories. Lunar festivals, poems, and paintings captured her luminous form and quiet narrative, allowing people to dwell, if only briefly, in her serene orbit. The light of the moon was a companion in darkness, an emblem of continuity, of rhythms that repeat without rush. Listening to her tale, one might imagine the delicate silver reflections upon a still pond, the soft movement of willow branches under nocturnal winds, or the quiet rustle of bamboo leaves. Each natural gesture mirrors the gentle motions of the myth, guiding the mind into restful awareness. In some versions of the legend, Change carries with her a rabbit, a companion who tirelessly pounds the elixir of immortality in the moon's silence. This imagery is subtle yet powerful. Creation, transformation, and devotion unfold slowly, deliberately, and in harmony with the lunar cycles. The rabbit's work is unseen, its rhythm unhurried, yet it sustains life and legend alike. In contemplating this, listeners may recognize the quiet efforts in their own lives, the unseen persistence that shapes outcomes over time. There is comfort here in knowing that patience, like lunar light, illuminates softly without demanding attention. Change's myth also evokes the transient beauty of longing. From the moon's height, she watches seasons, rivers, and forests, seeing the world move in patterns both gentle and inexorable. Her gaze is not sorrowful but contemplative, inviting humans to reflect upon the ebb and flow of desire, achievement, and passage. In the stillness of night, beneath her watchful light, there is a space for meditation, to release tension, to let the mind drift over the contours of thought, and to rest in the certainty of cycles. Just as the moon waxes and wanes, so do moments of joy, patience, and insight rise and recede, forming a rhythm that, if observed, soothes the spirit. The story of change also reminds us of the universality of reflection and longing. Across time and culture, people have looked to the moon as a quiet witness, a companion in solitude, and a guide in thought. The pale luminescence of her figure, hovering in gentle orbit, encourages an awareness of life's quieter dimensions, the soft interplay between presence and absence, light and shadow, action and stillness. In these dimensions, one can rest, observe, and breathe, attuned to rhythms beyond immediate perception. learning the subtle art of gentle patience and luminous reflection to follow change through her. Moonlit Journeys is to float in a soft, contemplative rhythm. Night becomes a mirror, the stars like whispered punctuation to the quiet narratives above. Listeners are invited to settle into these stories as one settles into the dim glow of evening, letting each detail pass by slowly, without urgency. Every rustle, every distant light, every imagined shadow under the silver glow becomes a guide for inward calm, a lullaby for the attentive mind. Even the silence around her is instructive. Change moves without disturbance, yet her presence carries an invisible weight, the constancy of observation, the patient endurance of separation, the elegance of purpose in stillness. Here, one can sense a deeper truth, soft and sustaining. Life, reflection, and longing are intertwined, and when observed gently, they can soothe as profoundly as any lullaby or quiet night. The moon itself becomes a teacher, teaching the rhythm of patience, the beauty of light in solitude, and the serenity found in observing without interruption. And so, the listener is invited to dwell in the gentle luminance of change, floating alongside her across the silent sky. Thoughts may drift like the slow movement of clouds across the moon, or like reflections on a still pond beneath her light. Each story, each quiet motion encourages deep breathing, gentle awareness, and reflective ease. In the company of this moonlit goddess, the night becomes a vessel for rest. The mind finds calm, and the imagination is carried softly, steadily, toward peaceful reflection. Chapter 13. The soft labyrinth of Minoan gods. In the sun-warmed palaces of ancient Crete, the air holds a quiet resonance of devotion. Frescoes line the walls, depicting dancers, bulls, and figures that move in patterns both human and divine. Within these painted corridors, the Minoan gods tread paths unseen yet deeply felt, their presence subtle, like a soft echo of wind through the stone halls. The myths of this culture do not announce themselves with thunder or fury. They emerge gently, folded into ritual, daily life, and the deliberate architecture of space. To walk in imagination through these labyrinthine palaces is to sense a rhythm that is both calm and deliberate, a cadence that mirrors the measured beat of human reflection. Central to these stories is the labyrinth itself, symbol of complexity and discovery, not of peril. It embodies a journey inward, where observation and patience matter more than speed or conquest. Minos, the legendary king, and the creatures within these tales reveal lessons of restraint, understanding, and the delicate balance between human curiosity and divine order. The Minoan gods, though often unseen in the direct sense, guide this dance of civilization. Each ritual offering, each gesture in temple or palace, carries the quiet weight of attention, reminding the listener that even small acts of devotion ripple outward, shaping culture, consciousness, and memory. The frescoes themselves become narrative vessels. In one dancer's circle, a central figure, arms raised, movement fluid yet intentional. In another, a bull leaps in suspended grace, the tension captured in pigment suggesting both awe and respect. These images are not merely decorative. They encode stories, values, and relationships between mortals and the divine. In observing them, one begins to feel the pulse of the Minoan worldview, a world where gods are intertwined with daily life, where each gesture and step in a ritual holds meaning, and where human and divine movements form a quiet, interconnected rhythm. It is within this rhythm that reflection takes root, The labyrinth is not simply stone and passageways, but a metaphor for thought itself, complex, winding, and rewarding in measured contemplation. Each turn invites patience, each wall a moment to pause and consider. Myths of the Minoan gods echo this philosophy. They are stories of subtlety, of action tempered by awareness, and of insight discovered in careful observation. The listener is invited to move through this soft maze, not with urgency, but with attention, letting each detail settle before moving onward. In these tales, the sacred and the everyday coexist seamlessly. Women carrying offerings, priests guiding ceremonies, and citizens engaging with the rhythms of the seasons all participate in a quiet choreography. The divine is present not as a distant, commanding force, but as a gentle partner in life's unfolding. Even the natural environment, the olive groves, the rocky shores, and the distant Aegean waves forms part of this soft pattern, reflecting and amplifying the Minoan sense of order and attention. By observing this interplay, one can feel a calm connection between human action, ritual practice, and cosmic presence. Central to Minoan devotion is the figure of the bull, both real and symbolic. The bull appears in ceremonies, dances, and myth alike, representing vitality, endurance, and the measured strength of life's flow. Its depiction in art is never harsh. The lines suggest motion, power, and respect rather than violence. Through this symbolism, listeners may perceive a gentle lesson that strength is most profound when guided by awareness, and that vitality flourishes when integrated with rhythm and reflection. The labyrinth and the bull together offer a framework for understanding life's complexities, not as obstacles to conquer, but as paths to navigate with calm attention. The myths of the Minoan gods also emphasize connection and reciprocity. Offerings, festivals, and gestures of devotion are not merely acts of piety. They are expressions of an ongoing dialogue between mortal and divine. In this soft reciprocity, the listener can perceive the value of mindfulness, the quiet impact of care, and the subtle ways in which attention shapes experience. Life, in the Minoan imagination, is a series of interwoven passages, each carrying potential for insight, reflection, and gentle growth as one drifts through the imagined corridors of Narcissus or Feast. It becomes apparent that these myths and rituals are not separate from lived experience, they are embedded within it. The soft light of the Mediterranean sun filters through open courtyards, illuminating steps, frescoes, and the quiet gestures of daily life. This interplay of shadow and light mirrors the labyrinth itself, a space of both concealment and revelation, where careful observation reveals beauty, meaning, and connection. The listener is invited to move slowly, to let these images and ideas settle, and to sense the gentle pulse of culture flowing through time. Ultimately, the Minoan labyrinth teaches a form of attention that is both deliberate and relaxed. It is a reminder that understanding, whether of myth, self, or cosmos, arises not from forceful effort, but from patient observation, careful navigation, and openness to subtle instruction. In this gentle maze of story, art, and ritual, the listener may find parallels in personal reflection, the importance of noticing patterns, appreciating quiet interactions, and moving thoughtfully through life's intricate passages. Here, the myths of the Minoan gods unfold without urgency, revealing a quiet world where reflection, ritual, and the soft cadence of attention guide all things. In walking through these imagined halls, in witnessing their frescoes, and in contemplating the labyrinth's winding paths, one comes to sense a profound, patient order, The stories are not loud or commanding. They speak in whispers, in echoes, in the gentle rhythm of passage and presence. And so, the listener may drift through this soft labyrinth, carrying the quiet lessons of the Minoan gods like a soft lantern. Each tale, each gesture, each imagined step offers an opportunity to slow, observe, and reflect. In this stillness, the corridors of history, myth, and human experience merge, creating a space where thought moves deliberately, perception deepens, and the imagination rests in harmony with the gentle patterns of ancient Crete. Chapter 14. The silent flight of Huitzilopochtli, high above the mountains and valleys of ancient Mexico. Huitzilopochtli moves with a steady, measured presence. He is a god of the sun, of guidance, of the quiet insistence that light brings direction. His flight is neither hurried nor chaotic. It is a deliberate, graceful passage across the sky, reflecting the careful attention of a culture attuned to the rhythm of the natural world. In the myths that surround him, courage is not loud, and power is not imposed. Instead, they are quietly demonstrated, moving like soft currents beneath the surface of human awareness. Huitzilopochtli's stories are rooted in both history and ritual. The Aztecs saw him as a central guide, the sun itself a living path across the heavens. Temples and ceremonial spaces were carefully aligned, each structure a marker of his journey, an invitation to watch, reflect, and participate in the sacred cycle. In observing these patterns, one begins to understand a profound principle, that life and ritual are intertwined, that the movements of the sun, the seasons, and human attention form a gentle, continuous rhythm. Within the myths, Huitzilopochtli's courage and guidance are often portrayed in the face of darkness or uncertainty. He does not move recklessly. He does not demand action through fear. Instead, his presence encourages reflection and measured decision. In this way, the myths serve as meditative instruction, inviting listeners to consider the value of focus, patience, and subtle determination. Even in conflict, his energy is one of purpose and clarity, a reminder that guidance can be gentle and that courage often resides in quiet, deliberate motion. The highlands themselves seem to echo his flight. Winds move across valleys and plateaus with steady grace. Sunlight filters softly over stone and cactus, and the distant peaks hold shadows that shift slowly with the day. These landscapes, integral to Aztec understanding of Huitzilopochtli, reflect the harmony between deity and environment. They remind the listener that divine presence is not merely metaphorically, is embedded in the lived experience of geography, season, and the attentive gaze of human eyes. Each ritual, each act of observance resonates with this natural rhythm, reinforcing the bond between people and the quiet guidance of the sun god. Huitzilopochtli's role in the Aztec calendar is central. His journey dictates the timing of festivals, the orientation of ceremonial spaces, and the flow of communal life. Yet this centrality is not oppressive. It is deeply restorative. The cycles he oversees provide continuity, comfort, and the assurance that life unfolds according to a pattern both reliable and nurturing. In contemplating this, one can sense a soft meditation in action, the awareness that time, like his flight, is neither rushed nor chaotic, but deliberate, measured, and sustaining. The rituals in his honor are equally composed of subtle instruction. Ceremonial fires, offerings, and ceremonial dances are not merely spectacle. They are exercises in attention and alignment. The heartbeat of the Aztec people as expressed through rhythm, chant, and movement. mirrors the god's own quiet pulse. In this interplay, the listener may begin to perceive the value of deliberate observation. That devotion, courage, and guidance arise from careful attunement, from recognizing one's place in the larger pattern of the day, the season, and the world itself. Huitzilopochtli's mythology also carries lessons in balance. The god's movement across the sky interacts with other force, day and night, earth and water, human aspiration and natural limitation. These interactions are not chaotic. They are ordered, harmonized, and quietly instructive. The listener can sense how the Aztecs understood the necessity of equilibrium, how attention to the subtle relationships between light and shadow, motion and stillness, guided both ritual and daily life. Each story, each ritual echo, becomes a gentle reminder that focus and courage flourish most naturally within the flow of balanced patterns. The imagery associated with Huitzilopochtli further enhances this sense of calm presence. He is often depicted in hummingbird form, swift yet precise, a symbol of energy guided by purpose. The hummingbird's flight, delicate and seemingly effortless, mirrors the soft rhythm of his mythic journey. In watching this image unfold in the mind's eye, one can feel a meditative lift, a quiet encouragement to move through challenges with intention and grace. Even when facing trials, the lessons are of patience, strategy, and steady motion rather than urgency or alarm. In reflecting on the silent flight of Huitzilopochtli, one also considers the human response to divinity, the Aztecs' attentiveness to celestial movements, their careful observance of ritual, and their alignment of human activity with the sun god's passage demonstrate a culture deeply invested in harmony. There is no rush, no clamor, only the soft insistence of attention, observation, and gentle guidance. For the listener, this becomes a mirror. The same principles can be applied in contemplation, in quiet practice, or in the simple act of noticing the rhythms of one's own day. And so, as Huitzilopochtli traverses the imagined skies, his story is not one of spectacle or fear, but of meditative passage. Each movement, each mythic moment, carries the gentle instruction to observe, to focus, and to trust in the slow, deliberate unfolding of life's patterns. In the quiet highlands, in ceremonial spaces, and in the rhythms of daily existence, one can sense the subtle guidance he provides, a soft pulse of courage and determination that aligns the human spirit with the eternal path of light. To follow Huitzilopochtli is to embrace reflection over haste, to witness the power of measured courage, and to allow the quiet guidance of the sun to illuminate the mind. His flight is a lullaby of purpose, an invitation to breathe, notice, and align oneself with the rhythms of time, space, and enduring pattern. In this gentle movement, the listener finds not only myth, but meditation, a soft journey across the highlands of imagination and into the calm awareness of their own attentive heart. Chapter 15. The gentle loom of Norns in the quiet forests of the Norse imagination. The Norns work unseen, their hands steady, weaving the threads of fate with patient care. These three figures, Vergandi and Skuldhold, the past, present, and future, each strand a delicate record of lives lived, choices made, and possibilities yet to unfold. Their loom is vast, stretching across the unseen currents of time, and each movement is deliberate, measured, and calm. In this weaving, the listener is invited to pause, to consider the gentle architecture beneath the seeming chaos of existence, the myths surrounding. The Norns are contemplative rather than dramatic. They do not force or frighten. They guide subtly, illustrating how every action carries consequence, and every moment threads into a larger pattern. Life, through their eyes, is neither abrupt nor hurried. It is a quiet river, meandering through the landscape of cause and effect, a rhythm that is both inevitable and comforting. In watching or imagining their weaving, one begins to sense the pulse of order beneath what may appear random, the soft reassurance that time and choice are intertwined with gentle precision in Norse cosmology. The Norns dwell at the base of the great world tree, beside its sacred waters. From this place, they can touch every branch of existence, from the mortal to the divine. The wellsprings beneath the tree, calm and deep, echo with quiet authority, reflecting both memory and potential. It is here, in the hush of these sacred woods, that the listener can imagine drifting, following the threads of life as they pass through countless hands and lives, each interlacing with others in a subtle, intricate tapestry. The Norn's presence is a meditation on patience and acceptance. Their loom does not rush, and their hands do not tremble. Each life, each choice, each ripple of action is attended to with care. In contemplating this, one is reminded of the value of stillness, of observing time's quiet flow rather than trying to force direction or outcome. The myths do not urge control, but reflection, encouraging the listener to consider how even small moments are connected to the greater weave of existence. Their weaving is also a reflection on the cycles of human experience. Joy and sorrow, growth and decline, beginnings and endings all pass through the loom, intertwined with precision and care. Here, the listener senses a gentle rhythm, a cadence that mirrors the forest itself. Leaves fall softly, streams ripple quietly, and the wind moves without hurry through the branches. Life, when seen through the Norn's lens, is not a series of abrupt shocks, but a continuous, deliberate unfolding, a melody of cause and consequence played slowly, attentively, and with patience. The symbolism of the Norns extends beyond fate alone. In the Norse worldview, their weaving emphasizes the interdependence of all things. Every life touches another. Every choice has resonance. The threads they guide are never isolated. This is a reminder that even in silence, in moments that seem insignificant, there exists profound connectivity. Listening to the myths, the mind is invited to trace these invisible patterns, to feel the soft vibrations of interwoven destinies, and to recognize the subtle harmony beneath life's surface. These quiet lessons are mirrored in the imagery of the Norse world. The forests where the Norns dwell are not foreboding, but serene and contemplative. Moss blankets the roots of trees, streams move in gentle curves, and sunlight filters through the branches in calm shafts. In this imagined space, one can wander slowly, mindful of each step, aware of the delicate balance between movement and stillness. It is here that the Norns' teachings resonate most clearly. Patience, observation, and reflective presence are themselves acts of harmony. Echoing the rhythm of the natural world, the Norns also offer a vision of resilience. By attending to the threads of fate without haste or anxiety, they demonstrate a model of acceptance and strength. Life's uncertainties are acknowledged, but they do not provoke panic. Instead, there is a soft reassurance that the universe's design, however complex, is coherent. Each thread has its place, each life its purpose, and the unfolding of events is neither random nor cruel, but deliberate, like the measured pull of loom upon thread, shaping pattern from potential, in reflecting upon the gentle loom of the Norns. one is reminded of the subtle meditation embedded in their myths. These are not stories of dramatic conflict or immediate resolution, but of quiet engagement, observation, and trust in the unfolding of time. Listening becomes an act of alignment, noticing how lives interlace, how moments ripple across generations, and how patience reveals the subtle order beneath apparent randomness. In this soft attention, the mind finds stillness, and the heart finds reassurance as the listener drifts through these tales. One may imagine walking among the forests of Norse myth, following the threads in silence, feeling each life connect to another, sensing the pulse of time as a living, breathing entity. The leaves fall gently around, and the wind brushes softly against skin, carrying the quiet whispers of destiny. Here, in this liminal space, the Norn's loom becomes a lullaby, a meditation on patience, interconnection, and the serene beauty of life unfolding. To witness the work of the Norns is to accept that the universe, in all its complexity, moves with calm intention. Each thread, each choice, each life is attended to with tender care, a subtle encouragement to observe, reflect, and flow with the natural rhythm of existence. Their myths are a soft guide, inviting the listener to dwell in awareness without haste, to recognize the quiet poetry of cause and effect, and to rest in the gentle, intricate tapestry of fate that enfolds all living things. And so, the quiet forests of the Norse imagination, the patient loom of the Norns, and the soft rhythm of falling leaves all become a space of reflection. Here, amid the hush of myth and memory, one finds a lullaby of existence, a meditation on patience, interconnection, and the enduring calm of life's slow, deliberate unfolding. Chapter 16. The oceanic breath of Tangaroa. Across the vast Pacific, the deity Tangaroa moves silently through the waters, a presence both immense and gentle. In the myths of Polynesia, he is the keeper of the seas, the guardian of life that flows through tides, rivers, and rainfall. His domain stretches across endless horizons, where sky meets water in quiet expanse, and the rhythm of waves mirrors the steady pulse of existence itself. Tangaroa's influence is subtle yet encompassing, teaching those who listen to recognize the soft, enduring breath of creation, the quiet continuity that sustains life without hurry or interruption. The ocean is not merely a backdrop in these stories. It is the medium through which Tangaroa communicates. Each ripple, each swell, carries meaning, a reflection of divine oversight and natural balance. In the islands of Polynesia, fishermen and sailors long observed these waters, learning to read the signs of tides and currents, guided not only by wind and stars, but by the stories of Tangaroa. Myth becomes a living map, teaching both respect and awareness, revealing the soft lessons of patience, observation, and harmony with nature. Tangaroa embodies both abundance and restraint. His waters provide fish for sustenance, yet they remind humans of humility and care. Storms may rise, but they are not expressions of malice. They are reminders of the ocean's depth, its power balanced with life-giving rhythms. In this way, the deity is a gentle teacher, inviting reflection rather than fear. As one drifts with the currents of myth, there is a sense of being cradled by a force larger than oneself, a tender guardianship that mirrors the steady inhalation and exhalation of breath, slow and continuous, drawing the mind toward calm awareness. Polynesian cosmology situates Tangaroa at the center of creation, entwined with other gods who govern earth, sky, and life itself. yet his role is unique in its quiet constancy. While storms or volcanic eruptions are dramatic, the essence of Tangaroa is the enduring rhythm of water, steady, nourishing, sustaining. It is a meditation on continuity. Each wave that reaches the shore is both a signal and a lesson. Life is in motion, yet movement is natural, unhurried, and essential to balance. The mythology surrounding Tangaroa also emphasizes interconnection. Rivers flow to the sea, rains replenish islands, and tides shape the coastline. Human life is never separate from these waters. Myths teach that respect, gratitude, and awareness of natural cycles are not optional but woven into existence itself. To honor Tangaroa is to acknowledge this connection, to listen to the soft dialogue between land and sea, and to recognize that each action has gentle echoes. Much like the ripple that spreads across still water when a pebble falls, this quiet guardianship of the oceans carries symbolic weight as well. Water, in all its forms, is a mirror of the mind, reflective, fluid, and capable of holding life. Tangaroa's breath moves through these waters, reminding humans of both impermanence and resilience. Waves rise and fall, yet the ocean persists. Storms pass, yet tides return. In this ebb and flow, one can sense the teachings of soft endurance, a patience that is neither passive nor weak, but quietly powerful, sustaining life with rhythm and grace. In imagining Tangaroa's presence, the mind drifts across islands and open waters, feeling the gentle sway of canoes on the waves, the whisper of sea spray, the distant cry of seabirds marking the horizon. There is a cadence here, measured and unhurried, reflecting the subtle timing of myth and nature together. These stories invite the listener to become attuned, to float in contemplation, sensing the soft interweaving of divine oversight and earthly life, a continuous, calm conversation between the seen and unseen. The lessons of Tangaroa are not shouted. They are observed. In quiet reflection, one can notice the ocean's patient gift, abundance balanced with restraint, force balanced with continuity, change balanced with constancy. Each wave becomes a soft reminder that life, in all its motions and shifts, carries purpose and meaning. There is harmony in this rhythm, a sense that even in the vastness of the Pacific, patterns emerge, flowing like a lullaby that eases the mind into stillness. Furthermore, Tangaroa's myth encourages humility and respect. Humans are not masters of the seas, but participants in their cycles. Stories of fishing, navigation, and island life all emphasize attunement to this gentle oversight. Observing the tides and currents is not simply a practical matter. It is a spiritual practice, a recognition that life's flow cannot be forced, only followed with awareness and reverence. The ocean, guided by Tangaroa, becomes both teacher and companion, offering lessons in patience, continuity, and the soft power of natural cycles. In contemplating these waters, one may imagine the drift of coral reefs, the quiet shimmer of fish beneath the surface, and the endless stretch of horizon under sun and moon. Tangaroa's breath moves through each element, connecting land, sea, and sky in a calm, sustaining dance. The listener, in this meditation, is invited to release tension, to feel themselves as part of a larger rhythm, moving gently with the pulse of life, just as waves move without haste, carrying stories and sustaining worlds. The soft power of Tangaroa also reflects the enduring patience of myth itself. Stories passed from generation to generation, from canoes to villages, carry subtle instructions in ethics, observation, and reflection. The myth encourages a gentle attention to detail, a recognition of patterns, and a mindful awareness of the environment and one's place within it. There is no rush. The lessons unfold like the tides, measured and constant, leaving room for contemplation, understanding, and quiet appreciation. And so, to drift with Tangaroa is to enter a space of serenity. The ocean's vastness, the steady rhythm of waves, and the deity's tender guardianship become a mirror for the mind, a gentle reminder of life's continuity and resilience. The myths are a lullaby for reflection, a soft encouragement to observe, breathe, and allow awareness to settle into the steady pulse of creation. Here, amid the vast Pacific, the listener finds both rest and understanding, carried by the timeless calm breath of water itself. Chapter 17. The Quiet Grove of Pan. In the dappled light of ancient Greek forests, where sunlight filters softly through the leaves, Pan moves quietly among the trees. He is a presence both familiar and elusive, a god of nature whose essence is tied to the simple, subtle rhythms of life. Unlike the more dramatic figures of myth, Pan does not announce himself with thunder or display. His domain is the quiet grove, the babbling stream, the shadowed glade where animals graze without haste. In these spaces, he becomes both guide and companion, inviting the listener to slow their pace, to notice the gentle patterns of the natural world. Pan is often portrayed with pipes, the music of his breath flowing as lightly as the wind among the trees. This music is not a call to fear or alarm, but a soft murmur that moves through the landscape, threading leaves, water, and stone into a gentle harmony. It is a melody that awakens awareness without startling, a reminder that beauty and wonder often reside in the understated. In the myths, his tunes can charm the nymphs, soothe wandering travelers, and echo through valleys long after the listener has passed. A lingering whisper of the sacredness within ordinary life. The figure of Pan reflects a philosophy of attunement. His presence is a call to listen, to breathe in synchrony with the earth. Each myth associated with him highlights small, intimate interactions. A goat drinking at a pool, a stream carving a slow path through rock, the rustle of leaves stirred by an unseen breeze. These tales teach observation without judgment, a gentle mindfulness that fosters a deep connection to the living world. In listening, the mind learns to rest, to become sensitive to the subtle interplay of life and environment, to recognize patterns that are often overlooked in the noise of daily thought in Greek culture. Pan was also a deity of thresholds, of edges and borders where the wild meets the cultivated. Forests, hillsides, and riverbanks were his preferred spaces, liminal places where humans encounter the rawness of nature. These locations teach balance, the necessity of restraint alongside curiosity, the harmony between civilization and wilderness. Myth becomes a mirror of this balance. By contemplating Pan, one learns that the sacred is not always monumental or obvious. It can be found in the quiet spaces between movement and stillness, in the soft breath of a grove, in the light that shifts gently over moss and stone. Pan embodies both playfulness and attentiveness. His tales often carry subtle humor, moments of surprise that do not startle but invite a smile. A goat may nibble leaves in a peculiar pattern. A brook may twist unexpectedly, and Pan's laughter, soft and unforced, reminds listeners that joy resides in noticing, in appreciating life's understated rhythms. The mythology encourages an immersion in the senses, to hear the wind, to feel the earth beneath one's feet, to smell the damp moss and flowers. Through such attunement, the mind drifts into calm reflection, each observation a soft instruction in presence and care. He is also a figure of duality, both God and creature, human-like and animal. The horned form of Pan mirrors the wildness of the forest, while simultaneously bridging human understanding with natural instinct. In this blending, one finds a gentle invitation to recognize the coexistence of reason and intuition, thought and sensation in life's unfolding. His myths quietly suggest that to live fully is to notice both the small and the grand, the hidden and the apparent, the tangible and the fleeting. The musicality associated with Pan is particularly telling. Music is both ephemeral and enduring, carried on the air, fading and returning, much like the cycles of nature itself. Listening to his pipes is a lesson in patience. The melody is not hurried, nor is it demanding. It encourages the mind to attune itself to rhythm and flow, to recognize that timing in nature is soft and deliberate. Through this, Pan becomes a teacher of inner calm, showing that attention and care, paired with receptivity, allow one to move gracefully through life's complex yet subtle rhythms. Pan's myths also connect humans with the natural world in a moral and spiritual sense. Reverence for the forest, respect for animals, and careful attention to the land are all embedded in his stories. By listening, one learns that the sacred is woven into the ordinary, a fallen branch, a quiet pond, a sunbeam flickering through leaves. Each element carries its own significance, a quiet reminder that divinity often whispers rather than proclaims, that wisdom is often found in noticing rather than commanding. Wandering through the tales of Pan, one may imagine themselves stepping softly among ferns and roots, the sound of distant pipes echoing through the trees. Birds shift in the canopy, the wind brushes the grass, and the forest seems alive with quiet purpose. In this imagined journey, the mind becomes a participant in Pan's world, synchronized with its gentle tempo, aware of its small part in a vast interconnected whole. Such meditation fosters a subtle peace, a recognition that life's rhythms, when observed with care, are inherently soothing and sustaining. The quiet teachings of Pan extend beyond nature alone. They offer insight into observation, patience, and attentiveness to subtlety in all areas of life. The myths encourage the listener to slow down, to notice patterns that might otherwise be missed, to honor small joys and moments of connection. Each breath, each movement, each sound becomes part of a larger, calm tapestry, woven with care and intention. In listening, the human mind learns to mirror the forest, observant, steady, and gently responsive to the flow of life. Through this lens, Pan's grove becomes more than a setting, it becomes a space of reflection, a quiet sanctuary for thought and sensation. The god's presence reminds the listener that understanding and peace often emerge from attention to the understated, the ordinary and the fleeting. The myths invite meditation, not action, contemplation, not command. Each story is a gentle nudge to attune oneself to the soft pulses of life, to breathe with nature, to walk with care, and to notice the extraordinary in the seemingly simple in the end. The soft melodies of Pan's pipes, the subtle rustling of leaves, and the quiet flow of streams together form a lullaby of the natural world. His mythology is a guide to a reflective existence, teaching that harmony arises when awareness aligns with the gentle rhythm of life. Each tale is an encouragement to move slowly, observe carefully, and embrace the quiet joy of being present. A reminder that the sacred often lives not in grandeur, but in subtle, continuous grace. And so, in the quiet grove, Pan's soft breath lingers, an invitation to rest within observation, to find calm in gentle attention, and to allow the rhythms of the forest and of life itself to carry the mind toward reflection, peace, and unhurried awareness. Chapter 18. The gentle stars of Astraea above the quiet world. When night drapes its dark velvet across the sky, Astraea moves among the stars with a calm and measured presence. Known as the goddess of justice, she carries with her a sense of serene order, a reminder that fairness and balance are woven into the cosmos itself. Her light is gentle, not harsh or blinding. It illuminates without overwhelming, guiding the mind toward reflection and quiet understanding. In the myths, Astraea is a figure of patience, a witness to the unfolding of time, whose constellations shine steadily as a moral compass for the human spirit. In the ancient stories, Astraea is said to have lived among humans during a golden age, walking alongside mortals when the world was at its most harmonious. She observed, guided, and occasionally intervened with subtle care, teaching that justice is not abrupt or vengeful, but patient and enduring. Her departure from the earth, ascending to the heavens, left a lasting imprint. The stars themselves became a reminder of her presence, a gentle framework within which human actions could find context and meaning. The constellations inspired reflection, inviting individuals to consider fairness, ethics, and the balance between desire and duty. The myths of Astraea suggest that justice is not only about judgment, but about harmony, the recognition of order in the apparent chaos of life. She moves through the celestial sphere with a rhythm that mirrors the turning of seasons and the soft passage of days. Each star is a whisper of guidance, a quiet signal of the principles that govern existence, not through force, but through subtle constancy. Listening to her story, the mind begins to align with this gentle pattern, recognizing that even in darkness, light measured, enduring, and patient provides orientation and reassurance. Her presence among the stars also reflects a cosmic geometry, a soft, harmonious structure underlying the universe. The ancients perceived this as more than a map of the night sky. It was a moral and philosophical guide, connecting human behavior with the rhythms of the heavens. The constellations named for Astraea remind observers to pause, to reflect on actions, and to appreciate the slow unfolding of consequence and reward. Justice, in this sense, is a living meditation, one that nurtures thought and compassion rather than imposing fear or anxiety. The imagery associated with Astraea is often understated yet profound. Picture a sky brushed with the silver glow of distant stars, each a quiet beacon, steady in its orbit. Beneath this expanse, the world rests in soft darkness, and the mind, too, can find repose. The goddess myths encourage the listener to notice patterns, the interplay of light and shadow, the alignment of star to star, the natural rhythms mirrored in human life. Through this attentiveness, one begins to grasp the slow, careful unfolding of justice and order, which, like the stars, persists beyond immediate perception. Unseen but reliable, Astraea's story also carries a subtle reminder of human responsibility. In ascending to the heavens, she leaves behind a challenge to live in harmony with principles she embodies, to cultivate fairness and patience in one's own actions. The constellations become a silent guide, offering reflection rather than instruction, illumination without compulsion. Listening to her myth is like standing beneath a quiet night sky, aware of the vastness above, sensing that order and morality are not absent but embedded in the very structure of the universe, waiting for recognition. Her role in the cosmos reflects a soft interplay between constancy and change. While the stars remain fixed in their courses, human actions ripple through time, influencing the balance of communities and individual lives. Astraea's presence is a gentle reassurance that, although life may sometimes appear unpredictable or unjust, there exists a deeper framework of harmony and principle. Her light encourages meditation on consequence, a patient observation that fosters ethical clarity without harsh judgment. In contemplating Astraea, one also encounters a sense of hope. The stars offer comfort, their constancy a reflection of enduring ideals. Even when human affairs feel tumultuous, the heavens provide a steady, compassionate mirror, reminding us that balance is attainable and that patience is as vital as action. The mythology suggests that through mindful reflection and careful attention to fairness, the human spirit can align with the rhythm of the cosmos, finding rest and perspective in its measured light. The goddess myth invites a quiet examination of time and perspective. What seems immediate and urgent in the human world is small against the sweep of the celestial order. Astraea teaches that moral insight often requires distance and observation. That justice is best understood when seen with patience and reflection rather than impulsive reaction. Her story is a soft call to attune oneself to enduring truths, to notice patterns and connections that might otherwise pass unnoticed, and to cultivate serenity in the awareness of one's place within the larger fabric of existence. Astraea's gentle guidance is mirrored in the stars themselves. Each constellation is a subtle teacher, its light carrying lessons that transcend words. To observe them is to witness constancy, rhythm, and balance. In this quiet observation, the mind becomes a participant in cosmic order, aligning thought and emotion with principles that are enduring yet soft, firm yet unpressing. Listening to her story, one begins to feel a moral and spiritual calm, a lullaby for the conscience that encourages reflection, understanding, and inner harmony in the end. Astraea's presence among the constellations becomes more than myth. It is a space for meditation and quiet moral contemplation. Her light reassures, her constancy guides, and her story unfolds slowly, like the measured turning of the heavens. Each mythic reflection on justice, patience, and cosmic order is an invitation to rest within contemplation, to observe without haste, and to find serenity in the awareness that balance exists, even when unseen. And so, beneath the soft glow of stars, Astraea's gentle wisdom lingers, an enduring companion to the reflective mind. She reminds the listener that fairness is patient, that order is subtle, and that the cosmos itself can offer both guidance and rest, a quiet sanctuary for thought, reflection, and the slow cultivation of insight. Chapter 19. The Whispering Shadows of Arish-Kegel Beneath the Surface of the Living World. In the quiet depths of ancient Mesopotamian myth, Arish-Kegel reigns. She is the queen of the underworld, a sovereign of shadowed corridors and silent halls, where life's noise fades and the rhythm of stillness prevails. Unlike many depictions of death and darkness, her domain is not chaotic or terrifying. Instead, it is a space of gentle authority, a realm where endings are honored and the soul's journey is observed with quiet dignity. Her presence suggests that the unseen world is not a place of fear, but a sanctuary for reflection and the soft unfolding of what must be. Ereshkigal's myths are not filled with the clamor of punishment or alarm. They speak instead of cycles, of transitions, and of the natural ebb and flow that shapes existence. She governs with a measured hand, maintaining balance among the living and the dead, and reminding humanity that closure is as essential as beginnings. In her stories, the underworld is a place of contemplative pause, a space where time slows and one can perceive the subtle echoes of a life well lived. Listening to her story is like entering a shaded cavern at twilight, the air cool and still, a hush settling over both mind and heart. In some of the earliest texts, Ereshkigal is portrayed as the sister of Inanna, the goddess of life and fertility. Their connection reflects a gentle symmetry. Life and death are not opposing forces but complementary aspects of existence. Inanna's journeys to the surface, her dances of growth and vitality, mirror Ereshkigal's quiet dominion below. When Inanna descends, she enters a world governed by stillness, yielding to the authority of her sister, learning that surrender, respect, and patience are as vital as action and ambition. In this exchange, the myths offer a meditation on humility, acceptance, and the recognition that every path must eventually meet its own shadow. The imagery surrounding Ereshkigal is evocative, yet restrained. Imagine corridors lit by the dim glow of unseen torches, walls carved from obsidian and stone, echoing only with the soft stirrings of passage. Here, the souls of the departed are not in torment, but in quiet contemplation, moving through a space designed for reflection rather than punishment. The myth suggests that the underworld is a mirror of the inner world, a place where one may encounter the gravity of endings, the weight of choices, and the serenity that comes from surrendering to the rhythms of existence. In this, Ereshkigal teaches a calm awareness of mortality, a recognition that endings are natural, inevitable, and sometimes gentle. Her authority is subtle yet pervasive. As the Queen of Shadows, she embodies the principle that stillness itself is a form of power. The underworld under her care is ordered and deliberate, a counterbalance to the unpredictable vitality of the living world. Her rulership emphasizes patience and reflection, suggesting that wisdom often comes not through action but through observation, listening, and the acceptance of what cannot be changed. In contemplating Ereshkigal, the mind is invited to slow, to breathe, and to consider the quiet patterns that structure life, death, and renewal. Ereshkigal's domain also carries the weight of empathy. In the myths, she interacts with souls and deities alike with a form of measured compassion, acknowledging grief and loss without yielding to fear or anger. The underworld becomes a space for restoration as well as conclusion, where the end of one story gently leads to the preparation for what comes next. In this way, her presence is not oppressive but comforting, a reminder that the cycles of life are continuous, and that reflection and rest are as important as action and vitality. The Queen of the Underworld embodies a profound lesson about the nature of endings. In a world often focused on beginnings, growth, and accumulation, Ereshkigal stories encourage the listener to recognize that closure has its own value. To dwell in her shadow is to understand the grace inherent in cessation, the dignity of retreat, and the subtle power of stillness. Shadows, in this sense, are not to be feared. They are places where clarity and calm can be found, where the soul may settle like water into quiet pools. In ritual and myth, Ereshkigal is often associated with the cycles of the moon and the underworld's seasonal rhythms, reflecting the natural ebb and flow of existence. This connection emphasizes patience and timing, the gentle inevitability of change, and the necessity of yielding to larger patterns. Her realm is a space in which endings are recognized, mourned if necessary, and then released, allowing the continuum of life to proceed. Listening to her tale is an invitation to align with this slow, inevitable rhythm, to rest in the knowledge that all transitions have their proper place. The myths also remind us that shadow and light are inseparable. Ereshkigal's quiet reign exists not to oppose life, but to complete it. Through her, the listener is guided to appreciate the balance between activity and repose, presence and absence, birth and death. This duality teaches acceptance, a soft attentiveness to the cycles that govern both the natural world and human experience. In the hush of her corridors, one learns that endings are not failures, but essential harmonies within the larger song of existence. Her story lingers in the imagination, as a meditation on humility and surrender. As the mind follows her through silent halls, it begins to mirror the measured pace of the underworld, attuning to the soft whisper of inevitability. There is no rush, no alarm, only the patient flow of time, the quiet acknowledgement of mortality, and the deep calm that arises from understanding one's place within these cycles. In Ereshkigal's presence, the shadow becomes a teacher, silence becomes a guide, and reflection becomes a companion to the soul. And so, the whispering shadows of Ereshkigal offer a lullaby for thought and spirit alike. Her realm is not one of dread, but of calm, measured guidance, a space where the end of one story gently leads to the contemplation of what may come next. Listening to her mirth is to enter a quiet room at dusk, to feel the cool air settle around the body, and to allow the mind to rest in the assurance that endings hold their own quiet grace, and that stillness, like her dominion, is both gentle and wise. Chapter 20. The calm spiral of Kukulkan across the broad plains of the Yucatan, where stone temples rise with quiet majesty and the wind carries the scent of earth and sea. Kukulkan moves with a grace that is both subtle and profound. Known as the feathered serpent, he is more than a deity of myth. He is a guide, a soft presence that spirals through sky and temple alike. Unlike the hurried gods of conquest or chaos, Kukulkan teaches through patience, rhythm, and gentle movement. His stories are not alarms or calls to action, they are invitations to reflection, to attunement with the cycles of life, nature, and the human spirit. Kukulkan's spiral is both literal and symbolic. On temple walls and in the patterns of his ceremonial steps, the spiral represents continuity, growth, and the gentle progression of time. Each turn of the coil is deliberate, a reminder that wisdom unfolds gradually, layer by layer, like the unwinding of a breeze that drifts through the canopy of a jungle or across the open plain. Observing these patterns, the listener senses that life itself moves in quiet spirals, moments of insight returning again and again, each time with subtle difference, each time with a soft echo of what has been before. The myths of Kukulkan emphasize harmony between humans and the natural world. He is a deity of wind and weather, of rain and sky, and through him, the Maya learned to observe the rhythms of the seasons, the passage of clouds, and the slow turning of celestial bodies. His guidance is not violent or imposing. It is instructive, teaching that the cycles of nature are mirrors of the cycles within the human heart. Through this lens, rituals and offerings become acts of listening as much as devotion. moments of attunement to patterns far greater than the individual self. One of the most remarkable aspects of Kukulkan is how his form bridges earth and sky. His feathered serpent winds along temple staircases, reaching from stone foundations toward the heavens. In this ascent, the myth reflects a gentle teaching. Wisdom, like the spiral of the serpent, involves both grounding and elevation, both attention to immediate reality and openness to higher understanding. Each step taken, each coil observed, becomes an opportunity for the mind to slow, to drift, and to contemplate the interconnection of all things: the wind, the stone, the human hand that carved it, and the sky above that inspires it. In ceremonial practice, Kukulkan's presence was invoked through movement, song, and observation. The Maya would align temples with solstices, allowing sunlight to trace spirals along walls, a silent dance of shadow and illumination. Here, the divine entered the material world without force or alarm, guiding the observer to notice cycles, patterns, and the quiet passage of time. Even without understanding the full cosmology, one could sense the rhythm, a slow, gentle spiraling of energy that both nurtured thought and soothed the spirit. Kukulkan's influence extends beyond human architecture into the soft movements of the natural world, the winds that bend the tall grasses of the Yucatan, the gentle ripple across cenotes. Even the slow turning of the sun and moon all carry his essence. The myths suggest that by observing these quiet patterns, humans can learn a form of patience and attentiveness, a way of aligning with the broader flow of life rather than resisting or forcing it. In this alignment, the spiral becomes not only a symbol of divine wisdom, but a practice, a meditation on balance, rhythm, and continuity. Stories of Kukulkan are rarely dramatic. They favor subtlety over spectacle. In one tale, he descends to share knowledge of agriculture, teaching the cycles of planting and harvest, the timing of rain and sun. In another, he appears to guide rulers and priests, not with threats or demands, but with demonstrations of careful observation, attentive listening, and small, deliberate acts of harmony. In each narrative, the pattern is consistent, wisdom is patient, reflection is essential, and understanding grows slowly, spiraling outward from quiet insight into action that is thoughtful and measured. The spiral also reflects the spiritual dimension of human life. Just as Kukulkan's coil ascends and descends, so to do personal journeys follow rhythms of learning, reflection, and return. Moments of clarity recur, each time layered with new understanding, each time deepened by experience. In this, the listener is invited to experience thought as movement rather than a destination, to let ideas drift gently, returning in soft arcs, much like wind passing through the branches of a forest, carrying leaves, scents, and whispers along a continuous current. Kukulkan's quiet authority teaches the value of patience and observation. In his myths, the divine is not distant or indifferent, but present in every subtle shift of air and every curve of stone. The spiral becomes a lens for perceiving order in apparent randomness, the soft geometry that underlies both nature and human behavior. Attuning to this rhythm is a gentle practice, a way of letting the mind rest while still engaging with the lessons of the world. In the curl of the serpent, the alignment of a temple, and the sweep of the wind, one senses the enduring presence of calm guidance. Ultimately, the tales of Kukulkan offer a meditation on harmony. Through the gentle spiral, the listener is reminded that life and nature are intertwined, that cycles are not interruptions but forms of continuity. and that wisdom often comes not in sudden revelation, but in the patient tracing of patterns over time. By following the spiral, one moves with the rhythm of the earth rather than against it, learning to rest in observation, reflection, and gentle understanding. And so the calm spiral of Kukulkan becomes a companion to contemplation. His myths are invitations to pause, to notice the subtleties of movement and pattern, to align thought with the soft currents of the natural and spiritual world. Listening is an exercise in stillness and patience, a reminder that guidance often comes not through force, but through the quiet unfolding of cycles, and that the mind, like the spiral itself, can drift, return, and find comfort in its own gentle rhythm. Chapter 21. The serene pulse of Brahma. In the quiet expanse before the world, Brahma sits in patient meditation, his mind a mirror of infinite calm. He is the creator in Hindu cosmology, yet his creation is not hurried or chaotic. It unfolds with deliberation, each thought a ripple that becomes star, river, or mountain. Each intention forming worlds as gently as a breath moves through the lungs. The myths speak of Brahma's serene pulsar rhythm, so steady that time itself seems to bend around it, stretching and folding without tension. In this, the listener finds an invitation to enter a space of quiet observation, where creation is neither forced nor sudden, but a gentle unfolding that mirrors the internal rhythm of thought and reflection. Brahma is often depicted seated upon a lotus, rising from the cosmic waters, the seat of purity and calm. The lotus, both firm and delicate, reflects the balance inherent in creation. Its petals do not rush to open. They follow a quiet logic of time and growth. Similarly, Brahma's mind does not leap from concept to concept. Each universe emerges through contemplation, a deliberate orchestration of cause and effect. In this way, the act of creation itself becomes a meditation, a mirror for how we might approach life, understanding that meaningful action grows from quiet, focused attention rather than haste or force. The narratives surrounding Brahma reveal a universe of layered order. Legends describe him creating beings, stars, and landscapes, yet always in harmony with cosmic principles. Every element is placed with care, every relationship acknowledged, as if the universe itself were an intricate lattice, suspended upon the threads of thought and intention. The listener is invited to feel this lattice, to sense the interconnectedness of life, and to consider the weight and delicacy of each action. Even the smallest choices, like Brahma's subtle manipulations of matter and energy, resonate across the vast web of existence, showing that contemplation and care are themselves forms of power. Time in Brahma's world is both expansive and gentle. A single moment of his meditation might encompass ages of human history, entire cycles of planetary formation, and the rise and fall of civilizations. Yet this passage is not overwhelming. It is a steady rhythm, like the pulse of the heart, silent and unobtrusive. Observing this, one realizes that creation is not measured by speed or spectacle, but by the patience and attentiveness that sustain it. Even the cosmos, in its vastness, is a lullaby, and Brahma's thought a guiding cadence, a reminder that all things begin with mindful intention and flourish in quiet continuity. Brahmas for faces, each turned toward a cardinal direction, suggest a completeness of vision and awareness. One observes the north, another the south, one the east, the last the west. In this multiplicity, there is not confusion, but a serene balance and ability to hold complexity without strain. The four faces symbolize awareness in all dimensions of space and time, a comprehension that embraces diversity without discord. For the listener, this can be experienced as a subtle invitation to consider perspective, to notice the interwoven currents of thought, action, and consequence that move through daily life, and to do so with calm curiosity rather than anxious rush. The myths of Brahma also emphasize the importance of cycles. Creation is not a singular act, but a continuous process, rising from the waters of potential, manifesting into form, and eventually dissolving back into the source. This cycle repeats endlessly, yet with infinite subtle variations, each iteration a reflection of the careful balance between change and constancy. In these cycles, the listener is encouraged to see the rhythm of life not as a series of abrupt events, but as a gentle unfolding where beginnings and endings are inseparable, each carrying lessons in patience, reflection, and continuity. Brahma's creative process also mirrors human practice. Just as he contemplates before forming worlds, we too are invited to pause before acting, to allow thought and intuition to guide our choices. There is a lesson in the gentle precision of Brahma's work, that creation, whether of art, relationships, or ideas, is most enduring when it emerges from intention rather than impulse. Each universe he fashions is a meditation, a testament to the power of careful attention and the subtle influence of patience over haste. In temples and texts, Brahma's presence is less about spectacle and more about reflection. Unlike other deities who may embody dramatic intervention or dynamic force, he is the quiet center, a source of understanding and observation. His tools, symbols, and iconography reflect a universe arranged with care. The Vedas, sacred scriptures, emerge from his thought. The lotus of meditation grounds him. His swan, representing discernment, glides with silent wisdom. Each element reinforces the idea that creation, even at its grandest scale, can unfold gently, with rhythm and attentiveness rather than urgency. The serene pulse of Brahma extends into the moral and philosophical lessons of Hindu thought. His deliberate action embodies the idea that intention precedes consequence, that reflection and insight can guide life as powerfully as force or authority. In listening to the unfolding of Brahma's myths, one is invited to slow the internal rhythm, to consider the impact of thought and action, and to recognize the quiet magnitude of careful attention. Life, like creation, is most graceful when it flows steadily with mindfulness, and in harmony with the underlying order that Brahma represents. Finally, the meditation of Brahma encourages surrender to process rather than attachment to outcome. The worlds he creates are temporary, yet each serves its purpose in the ongoing rhythm of existence. There is no hurry, no anxiety over permanence. Instead, there is trust in the unfolding, in the lattice of time and life that he maintains with gentle, unwavering care. For the listener, this is a lesson in letting go, in finding peace within cycles, and in recognizing that meaningful creation, whether of thought, deed, or understanding, grows strongest in patience and quiet contemplation. And so, as Brahma breathes and the universe responds in harmonious rhythm, one can rest in the serene pulse of creation. To listen is to drift alongside his thought, to float through the infinite lattice of existence, and to understand that the vastness of life is held together not by force, but by gentle, deliberate care. In this quiet observation, the mind settles, and the soul finds a place within the tender architecture of time, thought, and cosmic balance. Chapter 22. The Eternal Slumber of Apsu. Beneath the first layers of the world, before mountains rose or rivers carved their paths, Apsu rests. He is the primordial god of fresh waters in Babylonian mythology, a figure of stillness and latent power. His presence is quiet, almost imperceptible, yet it hums beneath the surface of creation. Myths tell us that from Apsu's depths arise the currents of life, the seeds of worlds, and the subtle rhythms that shape time itself. There is no rush here. The waters move slowly, as if listening to their own breath, and in that deliberate cadence, the universe finds its first lesson. Beginnings need patience. Apsu's slumber is not absence, but a concentrated potential, a quiet reservoir from which life may eventually draw. In some texts, the younger gods disturb him, and from that disturbance, the dynamics of creation unfold. Yet even in these stories of tension and eventual awakening, there is a sense of measured energy, a recognition that force alone does not bring life. It is the interplay of rest and gentle movement that allows complexity to emerge. This is a lesson not only in mythology, but in the rhythms of existence. Even the most profound transformations begin in a space of calm observation and patient growth. The fresh waters of Apsu are more than metaphor. They represent the subtle sustenance underlying all things. In Mesopotamian thought, rivers, springs, and subterranean streams are sacred, carriers of both physical and spiritual nourishment. Apsu, lying in eternal slumber, embodies this principle, reminding the listener that the source of life is often invisible, slow-moving, and unassuming. To witness his rest is to sense the quiet pulse beneath the apparent activity of the world, the foundational currents that shape mountains, valleys, and the course of human experience. Consider the stillness of water itself, a calm lake at dawn, mirror-like and receptive, holding reflection without interference. Apsu's slumber mirrors this quality. In his repose, there is receptivity and depth. Creation is not violent or abrupt in its emergence. It arises like a ripple from a sleeping lake, subtle and inevitable. The myths invite us to notice this parallel in our own lives, to recognize that moments of pause and reflection carry the seeds of understanding, creativity, and growth. Sometimes the most potent forces are those that move unseen beneath awareness, yet determine the shape of all that comes after. In Babylonian cosmology, Apsu's awakening is tied to both challenge and continuity. The younger gods, representing energy, curiosity, and emerging order, stir the waters of potential. From these interactions, conflicts arise, but they are framed within the bounds of balance. Even in mythic struggle, the quiet power of Apsu remains a stabilizing foundation, a reminder that underlying calm persists, even when surface currents seem turbulent. In listening to these stories, one can reflect on the gentle strength of patience, the resilience found in stillness, and the soft authority of quiet presence. Apsu's slumber also teaches about time in its most expansive sense. While human perception measures moments in hours or days, Apsu exists beyond this scale. His rest may last for ages. His thoughts soar what can be imagined as his dreams stretching across millennia. Yet this temporal vastness is not overwhelming. It is meditative, a rhythm that encourages listeners to slow, to feel the space between events, to sense the cadence of existence itself. In this, Apsu becomes a mirror for the inner life, where reflection, patience, and stillness cultivate understanding more profound than constant action ever could. The primordial waters beneath the earth, where Apsu lies, are symbolic of both origin and continuity. Fresh waters nurture, cleanse, and sustain, and in their slow motion, they model the way life itself can progress. Mythic narratives show us that creation is not a sudden eruption, but an unfolding, gradual harmonization of potential into form. Every current, every droplet, becomes a participant in the emergence of the cosmos. To drift alongside Apsu in imagination is to feel the soft movement of these waters, to sense the unseen forces that guide life, and to understand that beginnings are inseparable from patience and reflection. Even the imagery associated with Apsu pools, subterranean rivers, silent lakes conveys a sense of sacred quiet. These are not chaotic or fearsome waters, but spaces of containment and potential. They are mirrors of the inner world, where thought and feeling move slowly, and the imagination finds room to stretch without rush or interruption. In this calm environment, one may notice patterns, relationships, and subtle harmonies that are often invisible in the more turbulent realms of action and perception. Apsu's slumber is an invitation to inhabit such spaces, to witness the subtle architecture of time, and to rest in the knowledge that creation unfolds with inherent order and grace. The myths of Apsu also emphasize the cyclical nature of existence. From his slumber, disturbances awaken forces that bring form to chaos, yet eventually, stillness returns. Creation, like water, moves in spirals, currents, and laps of repetition, each cycle emerging from a foundation of quiet patience. This cyclical rhythm resonates with human experience as well. Life, thought, and intention operate in waves, sometimes active, sometimes dormant, but always grounded in an enduring underlying current that maintains coherence. By listening to the tales of Apsu, one may attune to this flow, allowing the mind to find rest in the assurance of continuity and the gentle inevitability of unfolding. Apsu's role as the source of fresh waters also carries a spiritual dimension. Water, in many cultures, symbolizes cleansing, renewal, and reflection. By lying in eternal rest beneath the world, Apsu embodies the principle that nourishment, both physical and spiritual of fun, comes from unseen and patient forces. The listener is invited to consider the ways in which quiet, sustained attention can bring insight and growth, even when nothing seems to happen on the surface. The deep currents are shaping possibilities, forming the foundation for what will eventually emerge into view as one drifts through the mythic currents of Apsu. There is a subtle call to harmonize with these rhythms. Just as his waters feed life without hurry, so too can the mind learn to observe, reflect, and rest without urgency. The myths encourage a gentle surrender to process rather than attachment to outcome, a recognition that the vastness of time and the slow, deliberate unfolding of events are themselves sources of wisdom. In this quiet space, imagination and reflection merge, and the listener becomes attuned to the steady pulse beneath the visible world. In the end, Apsu's eternal slumber is not emptiness, but potential. It is a reservoir of life, a slow and deliberate beginning, and a reminder that creation's power lies in patience as much as in action. To follow his currents is to enter a calm interior landscape, where time moves gently, cycles repeat with quiet grace, and the mind can settle into the rhythm of the universe itself. His rest becomes a soft lullaby for thought and imagination, a soothing echo of the eternal pulse that sustains all life, and an invitation to let the mind drift with the slow, deliberate flow of beginnings. Chapter 23: Reflections in the Stillness of Myth. Now, as the journey through gods, waters, stars, and shadows comes to its quiet conclusion, the stories begin to settle, like soft petals drifting to rest upon a still pond. Each myth you have encountered carries its own gentle weight, a delicate reflection of human imagination reaching toward the infinite. From the silent depths of Apsu to the patient spirals of Kukulkan, from the luminous constellations of Astraea to the moonlit grace of change, these narratives are not simply tales, they are invitations to pause, to observe, and to let the rhythms of myth resonate within your own consciousness. In wandering among these stories, you have moved through landscapes, both seen and unseen. You have glimpsed the vastness of cosmic order in Astraea's stars and felt the gentle authority of Ereshkigal's shadowed halls. You have floated with Tangaroa's endless tides and traced the soft, labyrinthian paths of the Minoan gods. Each encounter has unfolded with a quiet insistence, teaching that the sacred is rarely sudden or violent. It emerges slowly, like the dawn breaking over a placid sea, revealing shapes and truths only to those who are willing to watch with patience. These myths are mirrors, not merely for the mind but for the spirit. They reflect the subtle patterns of life, the gentle pulses that move beneath everyday perception. In Pan's whispering groves, you might have noticed the beauty of small, unnoticed motions, leaves falling, streams flowing, the soft murmur of wind through branches. In Brahma's patient meditation, there is a rhythm of creation itself, each thought a measured brushstroke upon the infinite canvas of existence. Listening to these stories is to attune oneself to the slow, deliberate dance that underpins all things. The sacred often appears in forms that invite reflection rather than awe. Ugnis flames do not roar, they flicker, illuminating the quiet spaces between humans and the divine. Huitzilopochtli's flight is not a rush of conquest, but a measured passage across highlands, a guide for thought and focus. Tiamat's vast waters remind us that beginnings are patient and expansive, that what seems chaotic may hold profound, underlying order. Each myth teaches the same lesson. Stillness is not emptiness. It is the substrate upon which life, action, and understanding may grow. In these reflections, the mind begins to feel the shape of continuity. Time, when measured alongside such mythic rhythms, is not a series of discrete moments, but a gentle flow, a spiral of beginnings and returns. Apsu's eternal slumber, the calm oceanic breath of Tangaroa, the measured care of Bramhall suggest that existence is woven from patient observation, subtle interplay, and soft emergence. To follow these threads is to enter a meditative space where the pulse of life moves beneath awareness, and every story becomes a quiet teacher of patience and presence. You may notice that the more you dwell in these narratives, the more the line between myth and reflection softens. Each deity, each realm, is less a figure to be feared or worshipped and more a companion in contemplation. They offer guidance through example, the quiet vigilance of the Norns, the serene justice of Astraea, the gentle mirroring of change's lunar solitude. These presences encourage a rhythm of thought that is deliberate, introspective, and restorative. The mind learns, gradually, that wisdom often emerges from listening and observing rather than commanding or controlling. The sacred and serene merge in this stillness. There is no urgency here, no need to solve, to act, or to understand fully. Instead, the myths allow space for the imagination and spirit to wander, to recognize the echo of these stories in the patterns of your own life. Just as Kukulkan spirals through sky and temple, so too does thought meander, circling, returning, discovering new perspectives in gentle repetition. Each cycle, each reflection, carries a quiet reassurance that understanding is not always immediate, and that growth often unfolds in patient, almost imperceptible waves. Even the contrasts within these myths, light and shadow, action and repose, creation and restart, softened by their rhythm. Ereshkigal's underworld, though dark, offers calm and reflection. Pan's playful music, though alive and moving, settles into quietude. Agni's flames, though consuming, illuminate rather than destroy. Through these contrasts, you are invited to see the balance inherent in the cosmos and in human experience, that life contains activity and stillness, that endings are as sacred as beginnings, and that light and dark are always intertwined in gentle harmony. As these reflections accumulate, the mind itself begins to mirror the stillness of the myths. Thoughts slow, as if drifting on a soft current. Emotions find their place within the natural flow, neither clinging nor resisting. The narrative of the gods and the cosmos becomes a lullaby. Each name, each movement, a soft note that resonates with the interior rhythms of rest. In listening, one feels the continuity between the world above, the hidden depths below, and the spaces within oneself. There is also a quiet lesson in the humility of these myths. None of the deities act out of haste or impatience. Brahma meditates before creation. Apsu rests beneath the earth. Change floats silently among the stars. Their actions, when they occur, are measured and deliberate, flowing from awareness rather than urgency. In this, they offer guidance for human reflection, that patience and observation are not weakness, but the careful tending of possibility, the cultivation of insight, and the quiet shaping of life's course. In the soft culmination of these tales, it becomes clear that myth is not only a reflection of the world, but a mirror for the inner landscape. Listening to the stories is an act of gentle attunement, a way to harmonize with the rhythms of existence itself. Each image, each narrative pulse, encourages the mind to pause, to inhale with awareness, to exhale without tension. The sacred has become a companion in this quiet space, guiding attention toward rest, reflection, and the subtle joy of simply being. And so, as the petals of these stories settle fully upon your thoughts, allow yourself to drift in their soft glow. The rivers of Apsu, the spiral of Kukulkan, the calm pulse of Brahma, the moonlit grace of change, the whispering shadows of Ereshkigal converge into a single current of contemplation. You are invited to rest in this current, to let it carry your awareness gently, to sense the interconnectedness of myth, nature, and consciousness. In this merging of sacred and serene, there is no hurry, no expectation, only the soft, enduring drift of thought and spirit. Each story, each gentle deity, has left its imprint a quiet echo of cosmic rhythm, a reminder of balance, patience, and care. In this stillness, you may notice how your own mind mirrors the myths you have encountered, slow, reflective, attentive to the delicate interplay of beginnings, middles, and endings. The myths settle not as distant tales, but as living reflections of your inner landscape, urging calm, observation, and the gentle release of tension. Perhaps the most enduring gift of these reflections is the sense that stillness itself is sacred. The soft spaces between action, the pauses between thought, the quiet laps of imagination all hold wisdom and nurture the spirit. Through these myths, you have learned to inhabit silence, to recognize the rhythm of existence, and to rest in the knowledge that life's pulse moves steadily, even beneath perception. As you allow this awareness to deepen, the mind and body begin to harmonize with the calm, steady flow of creation. And so, the journey through myth comes to its final whisper. The petals have settled, the currents have slowed, and the stars, waters, and shadows lie within reach of thought without urgency. In this space, the sacred merges fully with serenity. The mind may drift, the spirit may rest, and the heart may recognize the quiet truth that the universe itself, in its many forms, moves with patience, care, and gentle rhythm. Here, in the stillness of myth, you are invited to linger, to breathe softly, and to allow the accumulated wisdom of countless stories to carry you into rest. Sleep may now approach like a quiet tide, guided by the echoes of deities, the rhythm of creation, and the soft assurance that the world, both within and without, unfolds in harmony. In this gentle convergence, the mind finds its lullaby, and the spirit its calm reflection.